All the most wicked female prisoners are imprisoned here. And arrest them. He is a famous strongman on the mainland. Warden Aiden. Just by this title, he could scare heretics into a miscarriage. Unfortunately, the real Aiden had passed away due to overwork at night. And although I crossed over and inherited his body, but I did not receive his abilities. What's even worse is, I haven't intervened to enforce prison discipline for 3 months. Those heretics have started to act out and attempt to escape. And today is the day when the Vampire Queen plans to escape. She has been digging a tunnel for 2.5 years. Her sharp nails have been worn down. It's all worth it for her to regain her freedom. She joyfully howled at the full moon, only to suddenly hear Aiden's voice behind her. "You fool! Are you shouting so loud because you're afraid I can't hear you?" She turned around in a panic. But Aiden captured this all-disheveled appearance in a photo. "You still have 300 years of sentence to serve. It looks like it will be increased to 500 years. The Vampire Queen can't believe it. How did that jerk Aiden find out? Aiden said a vampire like you drinks a gallon of pig's blood every day, yet still needs to spend 10 hours in the bathroom. Anyone could figure out you're planning an escape. As for why I only caught you now, of course, it's to take your mugshot to use for propaganda among other inmates." Vampire Queen is angry. She is mad as the party queen in the prison. This is unacceptable to her. "Damn it, Aiden, I'm going to kill you." But she was just about to make a move. Her back of the head was pressed with a gun. It turned out that without realizing it, the genius killer action had already circled around behind her. Her right side was blocked by Witch Cambry. On the left side is Necromancer Asina. You are all flash offenders in prison. How can you be Aiden's running dog? But for her excuse, Aiden persuaded her not to waste her energy. "They have been tamed by me. They are willing to serve me in exchange for better treatment. As for you, do you crawl back obediently, or wait for me to catch you and stuff you with garlic? Then tie you to a cross and expose you to the sun for a day. How about being thrown back?" Listen to this. The once strong-willed Ophelia suddenly lost her hostility. She obediently prepared to climb back into the dog hole. Aiden doesn't intend to let her off easily. He told her to clean up tonight and wait to be played with by him. After resolving the matter, Aiden returned to the prison to start the bed check. The moment the overhead light turned on, the female prisoners started cheering enthusiastically. "Here comes someone. Hey, feed the warden shit. Aiden, come lick my toes." Various unbearable noises came out of the prisoners' mouths. Aiden, however, was accustomed to this. With 3 months of no intervention, prison discipline had deteriorated. Aiden's name was no longer enough to keep the prisoners in check. Aiden roared, "Silence." Immediately, a strong light burst from Aiden's left hand. The prisoners started begging for mercy. This is the flash spell that took Aiden 2 months to learn. It's equivalent to a flash grenade. Aiden knows. Once the prisoners break out, he will surely be killed by them. Aiden immediately prayed, hoping that no more troublemakers would be sent. But the next moment, the prison gate was opened. Another prisoner was brought in. And this time, it was a she-wolf sentenced to death. Aiden ordered the anesthetized she-wolf to be taken back to the dressing room. He wanted to change her clothes himself. Then he stopped Captain Rosan, who was in charge of escorting her. Aiden asked why the funding requested for adding a new cell last month was still not in place. Each cell is now packed with multiple prisoners. Not only is it inconvenient for inspections, but there is also a risk of riots. However, Rosan told Aiden, the poor residents in City Silver have already begun to protest. Why do they have to live so miserably, while the heresy monster in prison lives comfortably? The conflict between humans and the heresy monster is escalating. Rose Prison has been thrust into the spotlight. So the top leaders are hoping that the warden can kill some prisoners to settle the public opinion. Aiden resists internally, but he has no choice. He caught all the heresy monsters in the prison. He has already sworn a deadly enemy with them. And the nobles behind him are the ruling class of this world. Aiden dare not offend them. So he chooses to compromise. He plans to take down the newly arrived she-wolf. Anyway, she has already been sentenced to death. Aiden won't feel guilty about killing her early. Back at the prison, he was just about to assign a cell to this she-wolf. Assistant Flanda, however, told him that most of the cells were already packed with 2 people. Only the succubus's cell contained 1 person. The 2 of them arrived at the succubus's cell. The succubus's eyes lit up instantly. She warmly invited Aiden to sleep together. But Aiden looked puzzled. Isn't the prisoner number 404 Succubus Mayfair released from prison the day before yesterday? Listen to this. Succubus shyly lowers her head and dares not look directly at Aiden. At this time, Flanda came out to explain. It turns out she is incorrigible. After being released from prison, she became a ringleader. She organized other succubus to continue engaging in prostitution, leading to a large number of male organ failures. Aiden was very angry. But the next second, the succubus used her seducibility, saying that as long as Aiden helps her reduce her sentence, she is willing to do any position tonight. Aiden didn't believe her. He asked, "Are you really willing to do anything?" The succubus put her hands on her hips and proudly showcased her ample chest. She vowed to make Aiden remember her for the rest of his life. As soon as she finished speaking, 2 doctors entered, carrying the she-wolf. The succubus thought Aiden was going to have a threesome tonight. But Aiden said it was a new roommate arranged for her, very dangerous. If she finds anything unusual, she should call the prison guards immediately. But Aiden had just turned around. However, Aiden deliberately distracted the 2 doctors, so we can escape. It turns out tonight is a full moon night. And regular sedatives cannot control the she-wolf under the full moon. Do not give the she-wolf a chance to err. How could Aiden have a reason to kill it? On the other side, the succubus is complaining that Aiden is gay. She completely failed to notice the she-wolf behind her has already opened its eyes and stood up. Wait for the succubus to turn around. The succubus was immediately frightened by the fierce she-wolf's menacing look. The next morning at dawn, Aiden dealt with official business as usual. The doctor who left work early last night suddenly rushed into Aiden's office. He suddenly remembered this morning. It was a full moon last night. The she-wolf's tranquilizer was administered only 1/10 of the usual dose. He is worried that the succubus may be in danger. He hurriedly asked Aiden to check it out. But after hearing it, Aiden made the doctor look out the window. He was very puzzled. Succubus and she-wolf embraced each other as if they were sisters. Aiden stayed here all night. Yet nothing happened. She-wolf is quiet and efficient. The bed is neatly made. Aiden had never seen such a sensible criminal. But why does the verdict say she is a bloodthirsty maniac? Suddenly the doctor on the side noticed. The she-wolf was standing devoutly in front of a statue at this moment. And this statue represents the friendship between humans and werewolves. The doctor was very excited at this moment. The Bay statue is definitely correct. She must be a blood oath werewolf, so she didn't go berserk last night. It is said that 100 years ago, humans and werewolves were trapped in the castle by demons. At this time, they ran out of food and supplies because everyone was too hungry. Both sides began to suspect each other. However, just as the alliance was about to break, the human leader Bei volunteered to offer the child of Tianjia to the werewolves for consumption. This action shocked all werewolves. The internal crisis was thus resolved. After breaking out, this group of werewolves was granted the title of Blood Oath Werewolves. They broke away from their clan and followed humans to fight in the north and south. After helping humans restore their country, they sought to integrate into human society. They overcome their werewolf rage through self-torture. They would not fight back even if beaten to death by humans. After the peace, humans began to reject the heresy monster. Blood Oath werewolves are already quite rare. At this point, the doctor noticed something was wrong and said, Isn't Warden making a mistake by sentencing the Blood Oath werewolf to death? They have a case where they were beaten to death by humans without fighting back. How could they possibly intentionally kill someone? At this point, Aiden is also a bit unsure. However, the next moment, a prison guard hurriedly pushed open the door. Tell Aiden that the werewolf has gone crazy in the bathroom. Aiden took out his gun and breathed a sigh of relief. It seems she is not a Blood Oath werewolf. In the bathroom, the succubus is unconscious on the ground and won't wake up. 2 female prisoners were badly beaten. They are all accusing Aiden and asking him to uphold justice for them. And the surrounding prisoners all enjoy watching the fun. They are demanding Aiden to kill She-Wolf. Aiden is currently considering doing so. Aiden plans to advance her execution date and ask her if she has any additional comments. She-Wolf snorted coldly, saying, "It seems that Aiden Gallo of the Heresy Inquisition is just like that. Since you only believe in fabricated imagination, you conclude that I am a murderer. There is no need to waste time explaining. Just shoot." Aiden switches off the safety of the handgun. He recalls the instructions from his superior. This is undoubtedly a good opportunity. But then he remembers the doctor's suspicions. In the end, he decides to put away the gun. In the interrogation room, She-Wolf explained to Aiden. She said that she only taught those 2 criminals a lesson because they were extorting succubus. Aiden took notes. He planned to wait for succubus to wake up before making a judgment. Immediately, he asked her what had happened on the day of the incident. Veronica told Aiden that she had apprehended a vendor selling counterfeit alcohol that day. The vendor's wife came to the police station to protest. That night, she was found shot dead. But she didn't commit the murder at all. Aiden asked, "How do you explain the missing bullet in your gun?" Veronica said she went alone to pay her respects to a friend and nobody asked to borrow her gun. Aiden is feeling a headache. He said, "You can't produce any evidence that proves your innocence at all." Veronica told Aiden that she can vouch for him with her integrity. She started out as a militia member since she was young. She has a good reputation among the villagers. Not only has she captured cult leaders, but she has also fought catastrophic-level monsters to save over 100 people. All these people can prove that she is a good person. But Aiden told her, killing is only one thought away. None of these can prove that you did not kill anyone. Aiden asked her to go back and think about the missing details. Otherwise, she won't be able to pass the judge's scrutiny at all. Veronica left. The security guard led the succubus in. She proved that Veronica was innocent. The 2 criminals extorted her in the bathroom. Fortunately, Veronica intervened to stop them. She just accidentally stepped on a bar of soap and fainted. They let those villains file a complaint first. Not only that, last night, they used the succubus's ability to enter Veronica's dream. The succubus discovered that Veronica was clearly being framed. Aiden naturally will not easily believe the succubus's words alone. But the succubus loudly questioned Aiden. "Do you want to wrongly accuse an innocent person?" This sentence instantly plunged Aiden into painful memories. In a previous life, Aiden was a police officer, but he killed an innocent person. For the rest of his life, he can only live in endless guilt. He shouted loudly, "Succubus, get out!" Aiden then held his head in both hands, sinking into deep agony. He regretted why he had to meddle in other people's business. But soon, Aiden called Flanda and planned to investigate the matter. Flanda was very puzzled. What exactly did Veronica do to deserve Aiden's actions like this? Aiden expressed, "Let him kill an innocent person. That feels worse than eating a fly." It's nighttime. Succubus is lying on the bed reading a book. She, who hasn't touched a man in 2 days, is already feeling extremely thirsty. Strange sounds occasionally come from her mouth. The prisoner next door is being kept awake by her noise. "Damn succubus, be quieter." Succubus replied, "Shut up, you old woman without a period. Suddenly, someone poked Succubus from behind. Succubus turned around. It turned out to be the young and strong Aiden. Instantly, Succubus's eyes lit up, thinking she was dreaming. Then Succubus immediately pounced on him with a hungry look on her face. Aiden acted quickly with sharp eyes and fast hands. He reached out and caught Succubus's sexy lips. He said he was here to handle official business. He didn't have time to fool around with her. He then slapped away the succubus perched on his waist. Aiden was actually planning to make use of the abilities of the succubus. He personally delved into Veronica's subconscious to find out the truth. After making all the preparations, Succubus made a heart-shaped gesture towards Aiden. "Are you ready, Lord Aiden?" Then she snapped her fingers. Aiden entered Veronica's dream. Here he saw what the other party's rumored experience was. She was framed. She was falsely accused. No one listened to her explanation. She was sentenced to death by a human judge. Veronica's emotions became intense. Aiden was ejected from the dream. The case is more complicated than he imagined. Succubus doesn't understand. Is it difficult to guarantee for an inmate with the name of Aiden Gallo? But Aiden knows the opponent's power is overwhelming. Unless dead people can speak, he will never turn his life around. Speaking of this, Aiden suddenly remembered the necromancer Asina. Perhaps she can make the dead speak. But just then, Congressman Anthony suddenly visited Rose's prison, which puzzled Aiden. "Congressman Anthony, you shouldn't be appearing here," he said. It may arouse groundless suspicions when a congressman comes to the prison in the middle of the night. But Anthony questioned Aiden. Why help investigate a case for a death row inmate? You kill a death row inmate to calm public opinion. I will protect the prison in front of the parliament. Hasn't Captain Rosen already notified you? Look at the newspapers in the past few days, Aiden. The ferocious and bloodthirsty werewolf has been arrested. Former Senior Inquisitor Aiden Gallo from the Hidden World will personally conduct the trial. The former hero slew the demon. Justice prevailed. You will become the hero in the hearts of the citizens. Do you understand? This is what I have been working on all along. But what are you investigating the case for? Are you going to question the judge's ruling? Aiden remains unfazed. He believes the judge reached a conclusion too early. Anthony is very disappointed. I am not trying to stop you from seeking justice. But my current goal is to place you back on the altar. By then, your immense appeal among the citizens will give you even more authority. City Silver never lacks wrongful cases. But you must be patient now. Thunderstorm outside the window. Aiden knows. He has already been involved in a conspiracy. He came to the study. He opened a hidden door from the safe. Humans seek the support of their friends and family in crucial moments of decision-making. But Aiden plans to seek help from a prisoner, Inmate 0000, the unique entity locked away in the dungeon goddess of conspiracy. Melophilia. She saw Aiden. The woman showed a hint of excitement. But she didn't wait for Aiden to finish speaking. She guessed why Aiden stopped here. Later, she set up a huge chessboard. She wanted Aiden to accompany her in a big battle for 3 days and 3 nights. If Aiden wins, she will give him the answer he desires. But if he loses, he will be harshly punished by her. Even though Aiden knows he is not a match for the woman. But Aiden still starts to move the pieces. Aiden's limit is 3 minutes. But this time, Aiden is clearly not in good shape. He only lasted for 2.5 minutes. Melophilia saw Aiden so weak and powerless. The woman was a little angry. She said, "Aiden, my little darling, your mind seems to be elsewhere rather than on the chessboard. If you lose, you have to accept your sister's punishment." Aiden knows she has the ability. Even though she is trapped in the dungeon, she already knows the cause of the situation. The mastermind behind the werewolf case, using the threat of shutting down the prison to coerce, wants Aiden to quickly kill to cover up the truth. The woman seemed to have heard a huge joke. She said, "My darling, have you ever thought about it? Such a big city. They spare no expense to build a prison to detain dangerous heresy monsters. What are they afraid of? The so-called closing of the prison is just a lie that the congressman said during the election. As long as I am still locked up here, Rose Prison will not be able to close. So, you have to serve me well. In case I escape one day, you will be in trouble. Aiden breathed a sigh of relief. This time, he will not repeat the same mistakes. However, Melophilia had a mocking expression on her face. She said, "With such weak strength, how can you compete with the other party?" Aiden was well prepared. He planned to use the power of those 3 exemplary criminals. She said, "But you don't have much time left. Can the 3 of them still overturn the case?" Aiden fell into contemplation. Suddenly, he thought of something. He knows all the abilities, personalities, and needs of the criminals, as long as he makes them happy. And then he is borrowing their strength. So the 1,000 inmates of Rose Prison. It's his 1,000 methods. Aiden knows. He has already obtained the answers he wanted from the woman. But the woman suddenly bent down. "Aiden, do you know the cost of losing to me?" Aiden started sweating. Memories he would rather forget flooded his mind. But the woman burst into laughter. She said, "I was just kidding. Humans can't beat me in intellectual games. This time, I'll let you off the hook." Aiden nodded gratefully. He was just about to leave when a woman's voice came from behind him. She said, "I went to great lengths to summon your soul. Don't disappoint your sister when the sun rises." Aiden staggered to Necromancer Asina's cell. Asina was somewhat surprised. She said, "Lord Aiden, you do have a lot of energy." "Last night, I went to Succubus's room. Before dawn, she came to my place again. Could it be that Lord Aiden is also interested in corpses?" But she heard that Aiden just came to borrow something. Asina was a little disappointed. She took off a pendant and handed it to Aiden. As long as he used it in front of the corpse, he could summon the deceased soul. But she kindly demonstrated it once in front of Aiden. But she scared Aiden so much that he was shaking all over. After all, he was just an ordinary person who had traveled through time. He did not inherit any powers from his original body. But Asina felt that something was wrong. Oh no. He must think I'm picking a fight. Thinking of Aiden's transcendent strength. If he makes a move, no one can beat him. Asina's face was pale as ashes. She said, "I warn you not to come over. I didn't mean to do it." But Aiden that looked back seemed very kind. "I heard you complain several times about not having new books in the library. How about I bring back some bestsellers for you?" Asina was stunned. Wasn't Aiden the playboy in the prison? How did he become so caring? But Aiden actually wants to build good relationships with the prisoners. He came to a graveyard. Aiden dug open the grave of the murdered woman. But the woman's body had already been cremated. Aiden used the pendant to hit a few times. No response. He continued to hit a few more times. But when he turned back, he didn't expect that. All the spirits in the cemetery were summoned by him. Aiden apologized sincerely. Only then did he send them back home. Just at that moment, the victim woman crawled out from the urn at this time. Aiden hurriedly asked who the culprit was. But the spirit was about to speak when it suddenly exploded. The spirit turned into fragments of memories. These incomplete memories. Unable to let Aiden know the real murderer. Aiden can only deduce from the information known. The corsage on the murderer's clothing. It proves that he is from the mounted police team. After shooting and killing someone, he can conceal the missing bullet. The person who could have such an opportunity to commit the crime. Only the weapons administrator. Next, Aiden arrived at the mounted police team. But the weapons administrator only came out for a moment. Aiden was somewhat surprised. Because Bruce is very thin. He is too different in body size from the murderer. It should not be the murderer. But when Aiden borrowed a bullet from him on purpose, Bruce behaved very abnormally. He hesitated to ask Aiden to wait for a few days. Aiden knew that the person behind Bruce was the mastermind. So Aiden is not going to startle the snake for the time being. But when Bruce gets off work, he heard that someone saw the ghost of the murdered boss's wife. He immediately felt guilty and ran home in a panic without choosing a path. He timidly hid under the covers, trembling with fear. On the other side, Aiden sees through the eyes of a crow. Aiden sees everything in the crystal ball. He sighs. He didn't expect to arouse suspicion again. Aiden turned to the woman beside him. He asked to borrow the crystal ball for a while. Cambry heard that Asina had benefited, so she doesn't plan to let Aiden use it for free. However, she was sentenced to life imprisonment, and Aiden is the only man in the prison. Aiden, who always grants prisoners' requests, naturally won't refuse. He heard that Cambry likes to eat desserts. Aiden then fed her 3 milliliters of his personally made thick white milk at 3 degrees Celsius. Cambry immediately showed a satisfied smile. At night, Aiden waited in front of the crystal ball for half a day. There was still no movement. He couldn't wait any longer. Planning to check a room in the prison. Arrived at the cell of the corpse witch. Aiden shamelessly uses the corpse witch's son to blackmail her into doing some shady dealings. The corpse witch agreed to Aiden's request. 1 hour to finish the job. Aiden tied up the corpse witch again. The corpse witch taunted Aiden. Warden uses prisoners to do such things. Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by others? But Aiden said he was seeking justice. Before leaving, he kindly picked up corpse witch's son. On the other side, Bruce is dreaming on the bed. But suddenly, his head was covered in countless strands of hair. Bruce was so scared that he wet his pants. He immediately hid under the blanket. But a female ghost suddenly appeared. Bruce rushed out of the house. He began to run on the street, yelling that there was a ghost haunting. Aiden saw everything through the crystal ball. This is his plan. Aiden used the corpse witch's abilities to intimidate the timid Bruce. Make him go out to seek help from the mastermind behind the scenes. When Bruce was nearly out of breath, a hand suddenly reached out, pulling him into the alley. What are you yelling about, you fool? Afraid that others don't know what happened? Bruce saw the police badge on the collar of the man in black. He said excitedly, Great, Jack. I was just planning to look for you. Jack learns about Bruce's situation. Jack said angrily, Look at you, such a coward. The other party is at most just a necromancer. These days you will stay at my house. I have set up a special magic circle here. As long as any undead creatures dare to trespass, they will be instantly wiped out. However, neither of them noticed. A crow on the fence has already seen everything. In the prison interrogation room, Aiden asked Veronica why Jack framed and set her up. Veronica recalled that day. Jack, a captain of the mounted police team. He planned to take advantage of his position and sleep with her. Even laid hands on her. Veronica naturally would not agree. This made Jack very embarrassed. Veronica doesn't understand. The other party wants to push him to death over such a small matter. But Aiden is not surprised. This kind of sick, wealthy playboy is not uncommon. Everything is going according to Aiden's plan. Aiden arrived at the cell of a special prisoner. According to the flash file, this creature belongs to an alien species. She has been lonely on Earth for 10,000 years. Everyone who has read the words she wrote has gone mad. So Aiden plans to ask her to write a letter, to force Bruce out again. In exchange, Aiden will be her boyfriend for a day. Half an hour later, Aiden's big bird soared in the sky. It smashed through the glass and arrived in Bruce's room. The big bird dropped a letter. Bruce thought it was a love letter written by a girl. When he opened it, Bruce's mind nearly exploded. He didn't recognize the handwriting at all. But he quickly realized something was off. He looked out the window. He suddenly felt dizzy. Bruce thought the end of the world was coming. He rushed out of the door. At this moment, countless tentacles descended from the sky. A giant eye stared at Bruce. The world was left with only him. The door behind him was opened. What came out was the pub landlord's wife, who he had caused harm to. Bruce thought this was retaliation against him. He revealed the truth about the mastermind Jack behind the scenes. He hoped the female ghost would go find Jack and stop bothering him. However, all of this was just his illusion. But Bruce was already scared to death. Jack was very angry. He drew his gun. Jack was about to shoot. But suddenly a crow appeared. Jack's bullet missed. Jack shot off half of Bruce's ear. It was discovered that Jack shot himself. Bruce was somewhat at a loss. Jack is planning to continue shooting. More crows flew over. Bruce took the opportunity to escape. He, however, stepped into the air. He fell back into the illusion again. He arrived at Veronica's grave. There were countless ghosts behind him. Completely drive Bruce to a mental breakdown. Suddenly, he stopped at a tombstone. On it was written, Bruce, in 3 big characters. By now, he had already understood. These spirits were all killed by Jack. And he would become the next one. The illusion suddenly disappeared. Bruce held his head and cried in pain. Bruce went to Aiden's office. And he is willing to testify as a witness for innocent Veronica. Aiden knows that things are not over yet. Aiden learned it from the crow responsible for surveillance. Jack has already begun to prepare to escape. Aiden rode the mare transformed from the female prisoner. He plans to personally apprehend Jack. Soon, Aiden caught up with the fleeing Jack. He knocked him off the horse. But just then, an accident happened. Someone had set up an ambush to attack Aiden by surprise. Fortunately, the blow was blocked by the horse. It turns out it was a hitman hired by Jack's father. The hitman let Jack go first. Aiden was handed over to him to deal with, as a bounty hunter. He was eager to kill Aiden, so as to make his own prices skyrocket. Aiden, who has fallen into an ordinary person. Of course, he is no match for White. Just as Aiden was about to have his head chopped off, the rescue arrived just in time. Veronica, who was originally in prison, was released early. She took advantage of the werewolf's keen sense of smell. Smelled someone following Aiden. Veronica promptly arrived to provide support. Veronica asked Aiden to go after Jack. She would handle White. Although Aiden was puzzled, but he was not indecisive at all. However, Veronica faced the cunning White. Veronica is still too naive. She fell into White's trap. Her thigh was entwined by vines. White took the opportunity to shoot poisoned arrows. But just then, Veronica's mutation occurred, accompanied by Veronica's cry of agony. She transformed into a half-beast werewolf. On the other side, Jack could see that Aiden was about to catch up to him. Jack panicked and didn't know which way to go. Jack crashed into a truck carrying wood. Aiden took the opportunity to arrest him. But Jack had a mocking expression on his face. Does Mr. Aiden want to kill me with air? Aiden was stunned. The bullets in the gun had disappeared. But he quickly reacted. He threw away the revolver. Aiden used the flash spell on Jack. Following that, Aiden drew a sword from his cane. At the same time, Aiden used the sword handle to knock Jack's pistol away. Aiden already had the sword blade poised at his neck. Jack really couldn't understand. Did he have to go so far as to put a commoner to death? In the midst of speaking, Jack drew a dagger from his sleeve. But Jack was just about to risk his life in battle. But Jack was suddenly shot in the head by someone. Aiden was stunned, because it couldn't have been him who fired the shot. However, the person who fired the shot was Congressman Anthony. It turns out that Jack is his illegitimate son. Anthony expressed his intention to reconcile with Aiden. At the same time, Anthony wept uncontrollably while covering his face in public. He begged the public to forgive his misguided teachings. But Aiden's heart is clear. Anthony is just acting. But he doesn't have time to delve deep. Veronica is still in danger. He has to hurry back to support. Indeed. Anthony showed a fierce look. Back to the woods. It's a mess here. It seems that the recent battle was very fierce. Suddenly, a hand grabbed Aiden. It turned out to be the bounty hunter White. He actually dared to ask Aiden for help. Aiden mocked. Why should I save someone who tried to kill me? Are you saying that as a hero, I should just stand by and watch someone die? You should hand me over to the law for judgment. Aiden knows. These arguments were all taught by Anthony. With Aiden's upright character, he would indeed do so. Seeing Aiden nod in agreement, White cursed silently in his heart, calling Aiden for help to lift up the tree behind his back. However, Aiden drew out his own sword. He said, The hero Aiden you speak of is long dead. I won't show mercy. White immediately showed a face of horror. But before he could speak, Aiden then cut off his head. After a while, Aiden found Veronica. But Aiden had just walked over. But Aiden immediately covered his eyes and turned around. Although Aiden only glanced a few times, Veronica does have a good figure. Veronica had nothing left on her body at this moment. She shyly covers her sexy body. Her face was bright red, saying, I told you not to come over. But she had no idea. Aiden did it on purpose. She was flustered and hurriedly tried to pull her clothes out. But she only managed to pull out a sleeve of her clothes. Aiden saw what happened, took off his own coat, and handed it to Veronica. The two walked on the street. By now, Veronica's transformation had already ended. Aiden asked her about her plans for the future. Veronica, however, looked dejected. Her personality is not suited for survival in Silver City. But she dared not go back. When she left the village, she boasted that she would make a name for herself. Now, looking like this, she feels extremely embarrassed. Suddenly, there was a noisy commotion coming from the street. Where did all these beggars come from? However, these are actually a group of rural residents. They want to ask where Rose Prison is located. Veronica saw this group of villagers. These people look so familiar. She stood there staring for a long time. She kept seeing the scene of leaving the village in her mind. She had vowed to make a name for herself in City Silver. Thinking of this, the werewolves waved excitedly at them. The werewolf finally returned to the embrace of her family. She blushed and asked everyone how they got there. The crowd responded to her in a lively manner. It turned out that, after the villagers heard about her accident, they were worried about her, so they specially traveled for half a month to see her. Veronica subconsciously looked down and noticed that their shoes were badly worn out. Veronica couldn't hold back anymore. She covered her face and started crying in pain. And the villagers were still worried about her going to jail. At this time, Aiden walked over and everyone doesn't need to worry. Veronica, the name of the werewolf, has been proven innocent. Veronica will be released from prison soon. They have his assurance. The villagers also let go of their worries. But this made an ugly passerby very unhappy. What are you beggars doing huddling together like this? Don't you know this is the city center? The villagers are not angry about this. Instead, the villagers chose to bid farewell to Veronica directly. At this moment, Veronica wanted to say something but just couldn't open her mouth. How she wished she could invite these people who love her to a meal. But she has no money. She could only helplessly put her hands down. In the end, Aiden spoke up for her, saying what she wanted to say. He said, You've come all this way. Why not stay and play in City Silver for a few days before leaving? Veronica, touch your jacket. Isn't your prize money from today in there? Veronica reached into her pocket as he suggested. Sure enough, she pulled out a handful of gold coins. This stunned the villagers. They had never seen gold coins in their entire lives. Aiden spoke to Veronica. Just use this money to invite the villagers to have a meal in the town center. Just then, a sound of footsteps was heard. Aiden's assistant brought someone over in a hurry. Seeing that Aiden was fine, she also breathed a sigh of relief. He said it was perfect timing that you came. You all should go have a meal with Veronica's friend. He looked towards the man who had a bad attitude earlier. Flanda understood Aiden's meaning. Following that, Flanda and the others decisively loaded their rifles. The man who was just arrogant immediately fled in panic. Aiden then gave Veronica a few instructions. Veronica was momentarily unable to speak. Under the lead of the guards, the villagers excitedly headed to the restaurant. Veronica looked back at Aiden before leaving. Aiden looked somewhat lonely as he gazed towards the village in the distance. Veronica slowly pulled up her collar. Then she fiercely sniffed the coat a few times, which carried Aiden's scent. It is gratifying that things unexpectedly went smoothly in the courtroom. Anthony not only did not hire any lawyers to defend him, but also remained silent throughout the entire process. So the natural outcome was Veronica successfully clearing her name. But at the beginning, Anthony went to great lengths for his son. But later on, he was so decisive when he pulled the trigger. The huge contrast between his actions kept Aiden puzzled. Was he afraid of exposing the identity of the congressman? Or was he afraid of revealing even darker secrets? After the incident, Veronica chose to say goodbye to everyone. She wants to leave this complicated place with the villagers. Aiden returned to the prison with Meliphilia to review this matter. As requested by her, Aiden bought some things for the prisoners. Because in Meliphilia's view, this matter is far from over. Anthony chose to endure, but he did not choose to give up. So she asked Aiden to buy something for the prisoner. It was also a way for her to protect herself. The turntable on the table kept spinning at this time. The piece of the entire city's silver will no longer exist. The prison cafeteria at this time. Cambry rarely got up to have breakfast. The prisoners behind her were mocking her as Aiden's lackey. This made Cambry extremely angry. But the next second, she changed her expression. She said her stomach was not feeling well recently. Are there any other food options? Her bitchy appearance instantly caused dissatisfaction from the criminals behind her. But unexpectedly, the auntie serving food actually said yes. And the auntie serving food really brought out a whole strawberry cake for her. The whole prison went crazy in an instant. Cambry, content, left with the cake. At the same time, Asina also came to the library to borrow books. This time, she successfully borrowed the best-selling new book from outside. When she saw the title of the book, she instantly entered into a wonderful world. And at that moment, the weird creature also welcomed a new guest. It is a lovely wooden elf. She is a little translator sent over by Aiden. She can understand the emotions of everything. She is the best companion for the weird creature. After exchanging a few words, the wooden elf was forced to have a sweet cuddle with her. The bathroom in the prison on the other side. The succubus is taking a bath. Two prisoners suddenly appeared. They usually make money by bullying succubi. At this time, two figures emerged behind them. One of them is Tiger Woman. The other is Dragon Woman. This is exactly the hired thug succubus brought to protect her. Turns out succubus was with Aiden before. She asked Aiden to punish the two people who robbed her. In the end, Aiden only left her with 4 words. Exercise proper restraint. After waiting for so long, he finally gave her the opportunity to strike. She said, "Hit me hard. As long as I'm not dead, keep hitting me to death." The two who were bullying her became afraid when it was their turn to be bullied. Soon, screams of despair and the succubus's smug laughter could be heard coming from the prison. At this moment, in Anthony's study, he instructed the butler to go find the Ant Queen. The Ant Queen is a mad woman who likes to conduct experiments on human bodies. Her beloved daughter is also imprisoned in Rose Prison. Anthony has made up his mind. He is determined to make Aiden pay. She is the cutest prisoner in Rose Prison. Because she is too cute. Even Warden Aiden can't do anything about her. Gilala belongs to the Wooden Elf clan. Because she sleeps on the job, it has caused huge losses to the noble's plantation. So she will be sent to Rose Prison. Wooden Elf can naturally understand other people's emotions. so Aiden sent her to keep weird creature company, although she would sometimes be given dirty looks by other inmates. But overall, she found prison life quite relaxed. One day, Aiden suddenly approached her. He wanted Gilala to help out by looking after a prisoner with a language barrier. This was just a small matter for her. But when she saw the prisoner, Gilala realized that things were not as simple as she thought, only to see that the prisoner's face showed no expression. Her inner world, even there, is only a skeleton. Gilala's face turned very ugly. She said to Aiden, "She's just a piece of meat that can digest, with no thoughts at all." Actually, Aiden had known this result a long time ago. Then he took out the key, pushed the door, and walked in. Gilala only then noticed that his hand was injured. Aiden told her that it was just a scratch and nothing serious. Then he walked into the cell. "Kim, let's start our morning class today. We will talk about Cinderella today." At a certain street of City Silver at this time, an old man is promoting his products everywhere. Suddenly, she was blocked by a figure. The person happened to be Anthony's butler. Later, the two of them arrived at a secluded room. He was very straightforward and said, "Do you want to save your daughter?" The old lady chuckled and said, "So what if I want to? Do you want me to break into prison?" "I don't mean that. As long as you turn yourself into prison, there will be a chance to rescue your daughter." Upon hearing this, the old lady's face instantly turned cold, and she said, "I am not as stupid as you think," as she reached for the basket containing the magic potion. Just as she was about to make a move, Anthony stepped forward and said, "Since we dared to let you go, there must be a complete plan." The old lady also recognized him. After all, Anthony had just finished a lawsuit with Aiden. He said, "Aiden is our common enemy. Here is all the information about Rose Prison. I can weaken the forbidden magic circle of the prison to the greatest extent possible. And I can also reduce the number of guards when the powerful Ant Queen attacks from within. I will also have the insider planet in the prison help you. This way you can easily educate your daughter, and I will make sure Aiden dies." His plan is perfect. So perfect that the old lady has no reason to refuse at all. Ant Queen then took out a bottle of magic potion and drank it. Then her whole body couldn't stop trembling. In just a second, she turned into a tall woman. "Then I will enter Rose Prison on charges of smuggling. My daughter is waiting for me." And at this time, Kim, who was reading in the prison, seems to have sensed something too. Then she quietly looked out the window. "If you don't subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'll put you in the Rose Prison tomorrow." Like the Roman war goddess Meliphalia, Gilala is also a member of the Rose Prison. After the werewolf case is resolved, Anthony, who lost his son, has been focusing on preparing for revenge against Aiden. The tranquility of Rose Prison is about to be shattered. But what Warden Aiden didn't expect is, the ones who started causing trouble first were actually the prison guards. The story begins this morning. Aiden's assistant Flanda originally just went to work at the prison as usual. She didn't know what was going on, but she kept feeling like someone was following her. And this situation has been going on for several days. Just then, a figure suddenly appeared and dashed towards her. In the emergency, Flanda drew her handgun. But the next second, the man actually knelt down directly. He said, "Miss Flanda, please marry me." Flanda is already married. Upon hearing this news, the man's feeling is like the feeling I get when I see the number of subscriptions on this YouTube channel. At the same time, several other men nearby also expressed their regret. Upon returning to the prison, Flanda immediately reported this matter to Aiden. It turns out that a writer turned the werewolf case into a novel. Not only did the novel confirm Aiden's abilities, but it also extensively described the female prison guards in the prison. For example, Flanda has transformed into a goddess with a perfect figure. The group of people in the morning are the ones who pursued Flanda after reading the novel. At this time, Aiden has not yet realized the seriousness of the situation. He thinks he can take this opportunity to find spouses for the single female prison guards. Just then, a prison guard walked in. She was there to resign. She was hired by the Empire's most famous women's prison. There was a good opportunity for her. Aiden was naturally happy for her. Just then, the prison doctor also rushed over. He is also here to resign. He received an acceptance letter from medical school. This makes Aiden a little headache. He asked, "Are you resigning too?" Night quietly covered Rose Prison. Gilala noticed that there were unusually few prison guards on patrol today, because the other guards are all in Aiden's office. All of them are here to resign without exception. Some have caught the eye of wealthy businessmen. Some have landed better jobs. Therefore, they are all eager to resign to Aiden. Flanda sensed something was amiss. If so many people resign at the same time, there will be a big mess in the prison. So she asked her colleagues to work for another month to give the prison some time to recruit new people. As soon as they heard this, they immediately became unhappy, because how could their employer possibly wait for them for a month? So their emotions suddenly became excited. One by one, they began to complain about all the bad things about the prison. They even thought that Flanda was jealous of them. The situation on the scene gradually began to spiral out of control. Aiden, who could no longer bear it, suddenly slammed the table. He said, "Do you think it's appropriate for you as prison guards to act like this? I will be happy for all of you if you find a better place. However, I also have a request. Please complete the basic handover work before leaving." But obviously, these words of his don't move these people who are bewitched by ghosts at all. I don't know who started taking off their clothes first. The first person took the lead. Countless others behind threw their police uniforms and guns on the ground. At this moment, Aiden also realized what was happening in the prison. Behind the mass resignation of the prison guards must be the first step of Anthony's retaliation. Flanda looked worried. If things continue like this, a riot in the prison will be inevitable sooner or later. Just at this moment, a small head poked out from the door. It turned out to be Veronica. She came specifically to apply for the position of a prison guard. Flanda was very puzzled. She said, "Weren't you supposed to go back to the village?" Her words immediately completely confused Veronica. Veronica then realized that the prison was unusually empty today. Suddenly, a prison guard rushed out. He shouted, "It's not good, Lord Aiden. The prisoners are about to riot. The few of us can't suppress them at all." At this moment inside the prison, those troublemakers are still making a commotion. They have noticed that something is wrong with the prison today. They are all clamoring for the guards to open the cell doors. At this moment, Gilala feels that the entire prison is filled with a sense of violence and cruelty. She hid under the bed in fear. At that moment, the prison gate opened. Warden Aiden finally rushed back. As soon as there was a commotion, the succubus popped out. "Lord Aiden, please come and protect me." Suddenly, her eyes widened abruptly, because she saw Veronica behind her. She thought Veronica was caught again. She quickly greeted her and ushered her into her own house. Veronica ignored her and slowly put on the guard's uniform. The tiger woman who was just shouting loudly showed great disdain. Obviously, she didn't regard Veronica highly. Flanda said, "This is the first test for the new prison guard. Establish your authority in front of the prisoners." Veronica lightly responded with a simple, "Got it." Veronica then pointed at the loudest ones calling and said, "You three, come out. I want to talk to you in a row." As soon as she finished speaking, the entire prison was filled with mocking laughter directed at her. "Tiger Woman is quite arrogant," she said. "No need for others. I can take you down all by myself." But the reality was that Veronica took only a few seconds to handle all three of them. She said, "Anyone else wants to taste my fist?" After she finished speaking, the entire prison fell silent instantly. Aiden was very pleased with the outcome. Remember, Veronica is the top-ranked combatant in the police force. The succubus is extremely excited at the moment. She said, "Did you see that, Mom? My sister is a prison guard now. In the future, make sure to figure out who is the alpha for me." After that, she blew a kiss to Veronica. Veronica instantly revealed a silly smile. Just then, a voice interrupted them. "Master Aiden is indeed impressive. Even with so few people, he can still manage the prison so well." The speaker is the manager in charge of City Silver's finances. Aiden is very confused. He said, "Mr. Doug, what brings you here?" The scene shifts to Warden's office. Doug said there are only 90 prison guards left in the prison now. Subtracting the salaries of the resigned personnel, we have decided to reduce the monthly budget for the prison to £600,000. Flanda's face changed instantly. "Are you kidding? Just to maintain the forbidden magic circle in the prison alone costs £650,000 every month." This is Aiden's most helpless moment. He will face the arrogant warden. Now he is being insulted by all sorts of people. Under the operation of Anthony, the prison guards in the prison are resigning and fleeing one after another. And the financial controller of City Silver took the opportunity to reduce the prison's budget to £600,000. Flanda was greatly shocked. It is important to know that the forbidden magic circle in Guang prison costs 650,000 gold every month. And some prisoners are special. 80,000 pounds are also spent on them each month. The monthly maintenance cost of the prison is also 60,000 pounds. And the money spent on prison guards is actually the least. So you deducted so many pounds because the prison guard resigned. Do you think this is reasonable? Doug quickly waved his hand. He said, "You misunderstood me. It does indeed cost this much money to fully power the forbidden magic circle. But there's Lord Aiden. Can't you lower the power output a little? After all, we all know the strength of Lord Aiden." Flanda looked worried after he left with him. Aiden remained silent from beginning to end. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. Then he slowly spoke to Flanda. "From now on, you are the Vice Warden. When I am not around, you have full authority to handle the affairs of the prison. I need to think about how to get through this period." Flanda broke out in a cold sweat. She said, "Are you saying that we are in trouble? These recent changes are not a coincidence. It is a conspiracy against the prison. And the mastermind behind the scenes is not just Anthony. It is very possible that there are other nobles involved. When the prison gates open again." Flanda changed into a brand new set of equipment. Some prison guards recognized him. "This is the Vice Warden's clothing," she said. "Please inform everyone. Aiden has other matters to attend to. I will be fully in charge of managing Rose Prison from now on." After she finished speaking, the whole prison was filled with mocking laughter directed at her. Flanda remained calm. The loudest laughters were each given 20 strokes with a truncheon. "I didn't expect those two people to be even happier. Who do you think would be frightened by 20 truncheon strokes? Veronica, it's your turn to execute." Veronica's expression is very innocent. She said, "If I break the police baton, don't make me compensate." Those two criminals panicked in an instant. Flanda said, "By the way, I'll tell you. All the doctors in the prison have resigned. If you get injured, whether you can survive will be up to you." She then gathered the remaining prison guards together. She wanted to maximize the efficiency of the prison guards. At the same time, the inmates in other cells also quieted down. One muscle baddie seemed particularly appealing. On the other side, a mouse walked into Cambry's cell. She already knew about the budget cut affecting the prison. She asked Asina, "What do you think about this matter?" "You think there's a chance to escape, then just go for it. I won't stop you. If there's a chance, I will definitely be the first one to get out before you. Rose Prison is about to have a riot. Countless terrifying female monsters are starting to act up. And can Warden Aiden turn the tide with his ability?" Just yesterday, Aiden delegated the power of managing the prison to Flanda. Of course, Flanda did not disappoint him. She not only suppressed the unruly inmates, she also managed the prison guards in an orderly manner. Under her tough management, prisoners even just sneak a glance at her. Flanda will also reprimand mercilessly. Veronica watched the whole process of her reprimanding the offender from the side. Even she couldn't help but marvel at Flanda's strong presence. At that moment, a person suddenly appeared behind her. It was the warden of Block 1 in the prison, and Veronica is one of her crew members. The two of them gathered together chatting aimlessly. At this moment, the prison once again sent a group of prisoners. The warden of Area 2 is very helpless. Now that the prison is so short of staff, they are still being sent in. There are even prisoners who are caught for smuggling. This kind of behavior is simply a waste of resources. And what was being done inside the prisoner transport was making an ant queen. She listened to the conversation outside. A strange smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. In the blink of an eye, she was successfully escorted to the prison. Upon entering the prison cell, a voice came from behind her. "You are the newcomer who just arrived, right?" Then the blanket was suddenly lifted. "I'm telling you, I'm a frequent visitor to the prison. The warden is my lover. The guards are my childhood sisters whom I grew up drinking milk with. Call me Gangsterette, and I'll protect you." Ant Queen fulfilled her little wish. The succubus instantly beamed with joy. The succubusant queen looked at Tianjin foolishly and laughed. The sun slowly descended. Darkness was about to envelop Rose Prison when someone secretly set fire to Aiden's office. If you don't click the like button, he will go to your house and set it on fire tomorrow. Soon Veronica smelled a strange odor. Then several people turned their heads to look back. They found that the entire prison was engulfed in flames. The prison guards were in a panic. And at this moment, they heard commotion behind them again. It was those oddly assorted prisoners. They took advantage of the chaos and launched a riot. The guards initially fought back with weapons, but one guard couldn't hold on and retreated. Then, there was a large-scale dispersal of the guards. Flanda's efforts to stop them were completely futile. A prisoner looked on indifferently at everything. She understood that at this moment, Flanda still couldn't completely convince all the guards. At this moment, chaos broke out inside the prison. All the guards were sent out to suppress the riot. Muscle Batty inquired, "Is the prison going to be finished?" She said, "No, it's not. Because the true protagonist hasn't appeared yet." On the other hand, the rioting prisoners have already rushed up. Their opponents are a werewolf and 3 ordinary people. Suddenly, a staff fiercely struck the ground. Warden Aiden finally made his appearance. As soon as he appeared, several rioters couldn't help but retreat. Aiden spoke slowly. "Good evening, ladies." Warden Aiden was about to take action at last. This time, he is going to punish those troublemaking prisoners severely. It turns out that a fire broke out at Rose Prison just 1 day ago. The prisoners took this opportunity to initiate a riot. The sudden turn of events left Flanda defenseless. At a critical moment, Aiden finally rushed back. As soon as Aiden appeared, the rioting prisoners quieted down. The scene fell silent for a moment. No one was willing to speak at this moment. Aiden finally broke the silence and took the lead. He asked, "Would someone come out and explain to me?" "I just left for a moment. Did you already dare to attack the prison guards?" Vampire spat in the corner. "What are you pretending to be at this point?" Aiden suddenly turned to look at her. "Have you become so arrogant as well?" At these words, Vampire's face instantly turned red with anger. She said, "What are you still so proud of now?" "How many prison guards are there in the prison? Don't you know?" He said, "So are you very confident?" "Then I will give you a chance. In the next 3 days, except for special offenders, all the prisoners' cells will be unlocked. Feel free to do as you wish. I want to see if my fists are stronger or if your fate is stronger." As soon as these words were spoken, the prison instantly became noisy. And this is Aiden's only way out. At present, there is a serious shortage of prison guards in the prison. and it is not possible to find so many guards in a short period of time. However, if it is possible to recruit a group of people from among the inmates to act as prison guards, it would kill two birds with one stone. That's why the scene just happened. After everything was arranged, Aiden left with Werewolf and Flanda. It was very strange to the Ant Queen hiding in the corner after he left. She didn't understand what Aiden was up to. She then turned her gaze towards the succubus. She said, "Gangsterette, have you heard of a criminal named Kim?" Upon hearing the words, Succubus's expression instantly tensed up. "You are not right. You just called me a gangsterette and asked about other prisoners. Quickly tell me if you want to betray me." Ant Queen quickly explained to her that you are just curious. Succubus gave a cold snort and said, "I advise you to put away your curiosity. Privileged prisoners like Kim. You have no chance to get in touch with them at all. After all, not everyone can be Aiden's daughter. Aiden not only cares for her daily, but also teaches her how to read and write." At these words, the face of Ant Queen slowly darkened. Because in her cold-blooded eyes, Kim can only be a cold, unfeeling killing machine. Under the careful cultivation of the Ant Queen, Kim has never had any emotion since childhood. Even just needing a word from her, Kim could kill everyone in this world with just a single word. Therefore, she naturally does not allow anyone to take away her murder weapon. Aiden's office at this time. Inside, Aiden asked, "Do you have any questions about the first step of the plan?" Flanda solemnly said, "Don't worry, Lord Aiden. I will arrange tomorrow's plan properly." He said, "So let's meet at the secret location tomorrow." After leaving the office, she immediately found Werewolf, because Aiden had just asked her to help pass on a message to Werewolf. She quietly approached Werewolf's ear and said, "There's a hole in the back of your pants. Tell me in the comments section if you want to see how big this hole is." This is Warden Aiden's toughest round. Facing a collective riot of inmates, he unexpectedly announced in front of everyone to open the prison gates. "I want to see if my fists are strong or if your fate is tough." Originally, the prisoners all had doubts about his words. But what was unexpected by everyone is, the next day, the prisoners' cell doors unexpectedly opened. And even the main gate of the prison was opened. This actually left the prisoners a bit puzzled. At that moment, the warden of Block 1 of the prison suddenly appeared. She was holding a camera in her hands, and she was fervently urging the prisoners to quickly leave the prison. Faced with this strange situation, the prisoners all unconsciously chose a brave one to scout ahead, because this serpent demon insisted on being the first one out. But at this moment, some unpleasant memories kept flashing through her mind. It was a long time ago when Aiden arrested her, and in order to resist, she kept fiercely biting Aiden's hand. But unexpectedly, Aiden placed her right under the mouth of a volcano, and Aiden maintained this position for a full 3 hours. At the thought of this, she sounded the retreat, but the other prisoners did not agree. Just when the two were arguing, a handsome rooster suddenly appeared. The kitchen auntie shouted, "Quick, catch that hen! It's today's lunch ingredient." However, this hen's movement is amazing. It actually made a big leap and jumped away. Then it rushed out of the door without any hesitation. In the eyes of everyone's expectations, the mother hen succeeded. Then it excitedly clucked. Of course, even more excited than her were the prisoners. They seemed to smell the taste of freedom. But the next second, a magic circle suddenly appeared under the chicken's feet. Then a loud explosion sounded. When the hen landed again, it had turned into roast chicken. The criminals were shocked by the hen's death. One of the criminals angrily pointed at the district mayor. At this moment, another prisoner, Birdwoman, stood up. She raised Gilala with one hand. She said, "Throw this dog leg out. I want to see how many traps are still out there." Just as Gilala was about to be thrown out by her, Tiger Woman interrupted her and said, "Just a few spells, no need to involve innocent bystanders." And at this moment, two people quietly approached Bird Woman. The next second, Bird Woman's arm and right leg were suddenly slashed by someone. The intense pain caused her to release Gilala instantly. She said, "I'm sorry, your jailbreak is your own business. Prisoners who don't want to escape won't allow you to mess around. Don't forget that you are still in prison now." Speaking are a pair of twins. They are the district chiefs of District 2 and District 3, respectively. Then the district chief of District 4 also appeared and said, "Prisoners who do not want to escape, please come back with me first, so as not to be harmed later." After she finished speaking, a considerable number of people chose to leave. Tiger Woman laughed and said, "That's fine. Next, let's see the performance of us strong ones." But suddenly, she seemed to have seen something incredible. The next second, she suddenly knelt down and said, "I'm sorry, Lady Ostina. I shouldn't have proclaimed myself as a strong person in front of you." In front of her stood a tall half-orc. She is the eldest princess of the Marco Polo family. She is also the ruler of all the orcs. The woman spoke slowly. "Get up. You did not disappoint me. In this situation, you did not bully the weak. You did not shame our orc tribe." Upon hearing this, Tiger Woman laughed. She said, "Your Highness, are you planning to escape? I am willing to be your scout." Ostina declined her offer. She said, "No need. I just brought my friend here to have a look around." And the friend she mentioned is also of noble status. The Ant Queen hiding in the corner was secretly alarmed. She smelled a familiar and terrifying scent. At this moment, a voice came through. "Are there any good children willing to come to the kitchen to help me? I plan to experiment with a dessert. I need someone to be a taste tester." Upon hearing this, the two prisoners are eager to give it a try. But before they could speak, a figure flew over in a flash. "I am a top-notch fighter in the prison. With me in the kitchen, no one dares to cause trouble. Asina on the side is very helpless. You clearly told me yesterday that you were going to escape." Cambry says, "Stop talking nonsense." At this moment, Flanda's voice came from behind Asina. She said, "The prison library administrator has quit. Would you like to take on this position? You can stay in there all day." Asina jumped for joy instantly, as soon as the words fell. The Ant Queen witnessed the whole process from the side. At the same time, she also understood Aiden's intentions. Strong enforcers were planted in all the areas of the prison with hidden dangers, to instill fear in the hearts of the prisoners who want to escape. Although he said he is opening the prison door, he is actually creating an even bigger prison. And now the only loophole in the prison is the abandoned construction site next to the playground. It is too dry and spacious there. With the current number of prison guards, they simply cannot keep watch. So will Aiden arrange for my daughter to be placed there? As she expected, Aiden is there at the moment. He is giving Kim an early class. However, at this time, there is a large wine barrel at his feet. Just then, two figures rushed over. She shouted, "Come take a look! There is wine here!" Aiden laughed. Finally took the bait. He said, "Your nose is quite sharp. However, this wine is for the guards working overtime. You see this vast grassland. I plan to find a group of guards to work overtime for surveillance." Upon hearing this, Muscle Batty became anxious. She said, "My specialty is keeping watch. I used to be the leader of a mercenary group. Just give me this wine, and I will do it. I promise to excellently complete Lord Aiden's task." Aiden reluctantly agreed. He said, "But I also want to find someone to help me with the plowing. You can't complete the task alone." Upon hearing these words, Muscle Batty's little sidekick was suddenly startled. She said, "He wants us to get prisoners to do the work. But this will definitely make us a lot of enemies as well." At this moment, Aiden stood up and said, "Just find someone to help me till the land. I can provide you with alcohol until you can't drink anymore." The Ant Queen hiding on the side witnessed the whole process. She didn't expect Aiden to be so daring. He was now even hiring prisoners to manage the prison. But daughter, you can rest assured. Just wait until my ant army is formed on a large scale. Then it's time for the two of us to go on a killing spree. The setting sun dyed the leaves golden. Ant Queen picked up a stone casually. Then her abdomen wriggled slowly. Suddenly, her abdomen turned into a big mouth. Ant Queen stuffed the stone into it without hesitation. Just then, the guard who was watching here spoke up. Come out. No one will come here. Ant Queen slowly walked out from the corner upon hearing this. She said, My ant army is almost ready, but I need a breakthrough. I lack a prisoner I can win over to help me. He said, Vampire Queen in room 2. She was caught just last month right after escaping from prison. You should be able to easily win her over. At the same time, Vampire looked very desperate at her dinner. After all, I am the Vampire Queen. Is it appropriate for you to keep feeding me pig blood? The prison guard said you should be grateful. If it weren't for Lord Aiden's humanitarian care, you might not even get to drink duck neck blood. Just then, the pig blood in her hand suddenly became exceptionally hot. She didn't catch it in time. Then the pig's blood in her hand splashed onto the ground in an instant. Watching the blood spilled all over the floor, her heart was collapsing at this moment. What's even more outrageous is that a pair of feet stepped on it, and the owner of the feet is Ant Queen. At this moment, Vampire was completely furious. She rushed towards Ant Queen suddenly. With just one encounter, Vampire pushed Ant Queen to the ground. She said, Damn humans! How dare you touch my dinner? I'll fill my belly with your blood. Upon hearing this, the Ant Queen's face was indifferent. You can come and try if you want. I want to see if the curse mark on your neck works. With these words, the vampire's arrogance instantly disappeared. At that moment, the Ant Queen's fat intestine suddenly burst out from her belly. Then, that piece of fat intestine slowly reached into the vampire's mouth. She said, Don't talk. Consider this dinner as my gift to you. And then the vampire discovered with surprise that the power of the curse mark disappeared. And the sealed magic power within her was actually slowly restoring. The Ant Queen laughed. She said, I can lift all the prisoners' curses. Do you want to join me in killing Aiden? At the same time on Flanda's end, she arrived at the warehouse following Aiden's instructions. But what she finds strange now is that there is actually a cold aura array here. Aiden explained to her, This is to prevent certain prisoners from escaping. And this prisoner happens to be the harmless Cambry. After all, she does possess the ability to control animals. The cold spell formation can shield certain animals' heat sense. Aiden continued to speak. Now we can start the next plan. After sorting through these few days, I found that the prison can be roughly divided into 3 types of inmates. The first type is inmates who are naturally violent and cannot be reformed. They are also the source of prison riots. I call them riot prisoners. The second type is the inmates who have no choice but to stay in prison. Most of them are just passing time in prison. I call them natural prisoner. The third type is prisoners being excluded by the outside world. They feel more comfortable in prison than outside. So I call them loyal prisoners. Our next step is to gather the force of loyal prisoners. Support an alpha from within the loyal prisoner. Then use the power of prisoners to defeat the prisoners. In the glow of the setting sun, a group of ants is working hard. The vampire is showing off his newly unsealed magic to everyone. This is the next step of the Ant Queen's plan. By lifting the curse as bait, she plans to lure more prisoners to join her. The results are surprisingly excellent. The prisoners of Riot Prisoner have no resistance to this bait at all. The timing seems about right. The Ant Queen is slowly appearing. If you want the potion to lift the curse, you must follow all of my commands. And when I make the potion, bring more prisoners to me. Seeing how arrogant she was, the prisoners began to question her. Why should we follow your command just because you are new here? How can we believe you based on just a few words from you? Facing the skepticism, the Ant Queen remained calm. The next second, countless tentacles suddenly sprouted from her back. Those tentacles rushed towards the group of prisoners at extremely high speed. And when she retracted her tentacles once again, the prisoners were astonished to find a mysterious brand on their arms. She said, "Don't panic, everyone. The brand will disappear once you successfully escape. But until then, you must obey me. Otherwise, you will have nowhere to be buried." On the other side, Aiden has also begun to take action. Under his instructions, a large number of prisoners adjusted their cells. A small number of prisoners were actually released early directly. The released prisoner was very puzzled. She said, "Did you make a mistake? My sentence should be up next month." The prison guard was very helpless. He said, "You were released early. You should be happy." Flanda always observed the movements of the prisoners in the corner, but she was relieved that everything was going smoothly. Meanwhile, on the square of the prison, the prisoners who were subdued by the Ant Queen. Now she is frantically rallying other prisoners. Just then, a voice interrupted them. "It's time to return to your cells." "Why should we go back? Didn't Aiden say we have 3 days of free activity?" Veronica calmly replied, "You can do as you please during the day, but at night, the guards need to rest. Do you want to cause trouble for me?" At these words, the prisoners instantly quieted down. On one hand, they feared the power of Werewolf. On the other hand, Ant Queen had instructed them not to conflict with the guards. After some thought, they obediently returned to the prison despite being in a disadvantageous position. But when they returned to the prison, they found that their cells had been taken over by someone else. Before they could get angry, the twin wardens arrived with a large number of prison guards. She said to beware of your unruly behavior towards other prisoners during the day. Mr. Aiden has decided to swap your cells. Your new room is in the cell at the very end. Roll in yourself. When this was said, Bird Woman was on the verge of launching another riot. But suddenly Snake Woman on the side thought of something. She said, "If we're all together, wouldn't that make communication easier? We can also develop new relationships with those around us." After a brief discussion, they immediately decided to head to the new prison cell. The Ant Queen on the side watched the entire process. She didn't understand why Aiden wanted to gather the prisoners together. Suddenly, she seemed to understand something. Before entering the prison, Anthony had already instructed her. Room 800 needs to be careful with the painted black markings. The highest level prisoners of Rose Prison are detained inside. And at this moment, it seems that the riot prisoners people have also realized, before they could start discussing. The sound of clawing appeared on this floor. And the one making the sound is the so-called high-level prisoner. Birdwoman broke down. She said, "Don't talk about it anymore. Don't even think about sleeping tonight." Ant Queen also understood Aiden's part of the plan. The purpose of changing cells is nothing but to harass the rioting prisoners. Just then, a voice came to her ears again. "If I could eat so well every day, I would be willing to stay in prison for the rest of my life." You're right. How many people outside are going hungry? They also face discrimination from ordinary people. I really don't understand why anyone would still want to escape from prison. After listening to the Ant Queen for a while, I gradually felt that something was wrong. Why do all the prisoners here have common topics of conversation? And all of this is Aiden's plan. Firstly, gather the prisoners of the loyal prisoner. Let them spread the word about the goodness of the prison without any restraint, in order to attract neutral prisoners inmates. Implementing a policy of disruption against riot prisoner. I can't persuade you anyway. So, I will use force to suppress force. And in the cell, at the middle of loyal prisoner. These are the prisoners meticulously selected by Aiden. They are the mercenary Captain Kinga, Muscle Batty, and her cunning strategist Aya. Late at night, Flanda and Werewolf found her. They came to ask Kinga for the list of land reclamation prisoners. Aiden would use a barrel of wine as a lure not long ago. Kinga agreed to help him find people to reclaim the wilderness for the prison. But what she didn't expect was that as soon as Flanda's voice fell, mocking voices echoed all around her. But just as Kinga was about to refuse Flanda, her strategist Aya stopped her. She said, "Alpha, have you noticed? It seems like the prisoners around us have been intentionally selected. These people either have very short sentences, or they entered prison looking for protection. Some even consider the prison as home. They never even thought of escaping. I roughly counted. Approximately 200 prisoners don't want to escape. So Mr. Aiden doesn't want us to be cannon fodder. Instead, he wants us to reclaim land and provide benefits as reasons. Let us take this opportunity to gather a huge force in order to fight against Riot Prisoner. And the reason why Lord Aiden chose you. This is probably because he knows that you used to be the leader of a mercenary group. Kinga looked disdainful at what she said. She said, "No matter how nicely you put it, aren't they still his lackeys? Don't forget how our mercenary group was destroyed. Being someone else's dog does not end well." Aya said, "But this time is different. Firstly, the Warden is on our side. Secondly, those prisoners just want to escape. They won't fight to the death with us. Furthermore, even if we disagree, someone else will come and do it. By then, we will lose the initiative." Hearing this, Kinga sighed helplessly. Then she slowly spoke. "Does anyone want to drink? I have some good stuff distributed by the Warden." As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding prisoners responded one after another. Especially Succubus seemed particularly excited. She said, "Kinga, you have to take me with you. A good sister must lend me a hand." The Ant Queen hiding in the corner now also understands Aiden's true intentions. However, she is not in the least bit flustered, because in her eyes, these people are just a motley crew. She thought to herself, as long as I can win over Cambry, escaping from prison will be a piece of cake. She was once a student of Cambry a long time ago. But she was expelled from the Witch Union by Cambry because she experimented on humans. The Ant Queen at that time was very confused. She said, "I'm just experimenting on beggars that no one cares about. No one will notice anyway." Cambry said, "How dare you still try to argue at this point? I'm warning you. If you don't leave now, when Master Gaia arrives, you won't have a chance to leave." During their conversation, a monster with a snake tail and 4 hands rushed over. The newcomer was indeed the Master Gaia mentioned by Cambry. She said, "Isabella, the original name of Ant Queen, you are seeking death." It was only at this moment that Ant Queen felt fear. She immediately began to flee in panic. But it was clear that Gaia was not going to let her off easily. She emitted a wave of energy from her mouth. That wave of energy instantly sent Ant Queen flying. Under the gaze of Witch Cambry, she flew towards the distance. The place where she was about to fall happened to be the forbidden area known as the Land of the Fallen God. However, Ant Queen was very lucky. Not only did she survive, also used God's spell to create Kim. Now her strength is no weaker than the Mentor Cambry from Huijing. But what she doesn't know is that there is a little white mouse behind her, quietly watching her. And at this moment, Aiden is not idle either. "Congratulations, Sophia. You can now be released from prison." Sophia looked suspicious. She said, "When did you become so kind?" "You don't need to worry about this." Of course, Sophia wants to be released from prison, but she also knows that she will have to pay some price for it. Sure enough, when she changed into her clothes to be released from prison, Aiden stopped her. He said, "Don't rush to leave. Let's talk about a deal related to your bounty hunter business." Prison cafeteria on the other side. All the prisoners on the other side are discussing Kinga's matter. They are all eager to start working for the prison. And Ant Queen has also found her old acquaintance here. That is the mentor she passed by, Witch Cambry, who recognized the student she had personally driven away with just one glance. The Ant Queen spoke first, saying, "Teacher, I can help you escape." Upon hearing this, Cambry laughed and said, "You are thinking too much. When did I ever say I wanted to escape? I'm fine in prison." Ant Queen said, "Teacher, after so many years, I know you very well. I know you still don't trust me. To show my sincerity, I'll start by showing you my chips first." These are the spells I learned at the land of the fallen god. I call it the prosperity spell. Let's use this egg for demonstration. Just have her touch the prosperity spell. It can quickly transform into a handsome rooster. The same principle. We can use it to catalyze the magic-suppressing collar in the prison. Let it age quickly and become damaged in a short amount of time. Of course, I also know that you and Aiden signed a contract. Once you betray Aiden, the curse will be triggered, resulting in your violent death. But the prosperity spell can still solve this issue. When the dosage used by the handsome rooster exceeds a critical value, then the handsome rooster will undergo a split and become two handsome roosters. And the two are completely unrelated. This means that the split entity can help you bear the curse brought by the contract. After listening, Cambry laughed. She said, "For the sake of our master-disciple relationship, you can leave now, and I will pretend that nothing happened." Upon hearing this, Ant Queen instantly showed an expression of disbelief. But the next second, she laughed again. She said, "Teacher Cambry, you really know how to joke. I guess you want to wait for Aiden and me to be both defeated before attempting a jailbreak, don't you?" Cambry said, "You're really smart." Just then, several criminals suddenly walked in. It turned out to be riot prisoner led by the Birdwoman. They caused a riot as soon as they came in. Birdwoman then inexplicably attacked a prisoner. She said, "Sisters, follow me. Beat all of Aiden's lackeys to death." The Ant Queen looked calmly at all this. She said, "Teacher, now you have a choice. Either stop me completely and be my enemy, or sit back and watch the show and join us." And at this moment, Aiden had just received the list of participants for farming. He thought, 202 felons are enough. My plan is like this. You can grow potatoes while learning to make wine. Kinga was instantly excited at the mention of winemaking. She said, "Great Warden, I am willing to fully support you." At this point, Aiden suddenly changed the subject. He said, "But here comes another problem. We don't have any seeds. How about this? You guys get out of jail and buy some seeds to bring back." When these words were spoken, both Kinga and Aya were bewildered. "Don't be afraid. I trust you. Not only that, I will also send prisoners to help you." At that moment, a prison guard walked in. He said, "Mr. Aiden, the prisoner Gilala that you requested has arrived." So the bewildered Kinga, accompanied by 5 equally perplexed companions, arrived at the entrance of the prison. Even more unbelievably, it was the chief of Zone 1 who personally escorted them out. They still felt like they were in a dream until they walked out of the prison gates. A group of people walked on the street, everyone looking at them. What they did not know was Sophia was secretly watching them from the shadows. So this is the business that Aiden and she are doing. Have Sophia monitor them in the guise of a bounty hunter. And once they show any sign of escape, the only thing waiting for them is death. Under the leadership of Wooden Elf Gilala, several people made their way to the slums of City Silver. As they walked further inwards, the number of people decreased, and the houses became more and more dilapidated. Maddie, the fox witch traveling with them, sensed that something was wrong. The curse mark on her neck began to slowly loosen, indicating that she was about to break free from the forbidden magic circle's range. The smartest among them, Aya, also noticed the abnormality. At this point, Gilala decided not to pretend anymore. She casually took off the wooden sign symbolizing a prisoner. She said, "What are you pretending to be confused for? To plan an escape route, you should go around instead." The scene shifts to Aiden's office. Planda asked puzzledly, "How did you know that Gilala is about to escape?" Aiden slowly said, "I have her go to Kim for a physical checkup every day, but she has been absent from work for several days in a row. If she were a child, I could understand. But unfortunately, she is over 170 years old. I suspected that something was on her mind due to the sudden change in behavior." The scene switched back to Gilala. She gritted her teeth and said, "Do you know how I have been living these past few days? I constantly have to endure intense killing intent. I even almost got stabbed by rioting prisoners. They probably wouldn't dare mess with tough people like you, but being short and weak like me, everyone wants to bully me. Aiden gave me 10 pounds. It can be used as escape money. What do you all think? Upon hearing this, Maddie became interested. She said, I agree. I happen to have many lovers who can help me. The lover closest to me is in Nagista's empire. However, the witch in Sabbath Forest in between has a bad relationship with me. So I need Kinga's escort. Kinga says you better leave. After being rejected, Maddie instantly becomes a simp. She says, Jinjia, come with me. Aya quickly interrupted her and said, Haven't you noticed something strange? Didn't you notice anything unusual, Gilala? What she didn't expect was that at this moment, Gilala had quietly picked up the discarded wooden sign. She said, Sorry everyone, I took the wrong road. Let's go buy potatoes now. At this moment, she had lost the arrogance she had just shown, and her legs are shaking uncontrollably. Aya also understood at this moment. It was a trap from the beginning. First, luring us into a false sense of freedom, and then crushing this illusion with overwhelming despair, making people too scared to guess or think. I had guessed it right. At this moment, they have already been surrounded by bounty hunters and are ready to strike at any time. Gilala, who is naturally able to observe the emotions around them, has also completely collapsed in endless murderous intent. The scene shifts back to Warden Aiden's office. So, if you want the wolf to be loyal to you, you must first make her understand what respect means. Kim, who was sitting across from her, listened attentively. She asked, So, can Little Red Riding Hood tame the wolf? Will this prevent her grandmother from being eaten? He said, It depends on you, little Kim. Nothing is absolute. After listening, Kim seemed to understand something. At this moment, the image of an ant queen appeared in her mind. Just then, the prison alarm suddenly went off. Flanda's face was full of disbelief. There was actually a riot in the cafeteria. But isn't Cambry there? Warden Aiden was also confused. Why did the cafeteria have a problem? That is where all the prisoners eat. Damaging it benefits no one. Moreover, isn't Cambry the one guarding there? Could there be an issue with her? What's more, it's been so long and yet none of the riot prisoners have attempted to escape. This is very abnormal. There must be someone instigating them behind the scenes. Aiden slowly spoke after thinking it through. He asked the prison guards to carefully observe who was instructing those criminals. The scene changes to the cafeteria. It's already a mess here. The Ant Queen looked triumphantly at Cambry and said, In the end, you still didn't make a move. Are you planning to seek forgiveness from Aiden or join our team? Cambry speaks slowly as she looks at the triumphant smile on the Ant Queen's face. I told your mentor, Gaia, a long time ago. Don't be fooled by Isabella's intelligence and cleverness now. Just a few years of careful cultivation. You will soon find out that this person is someone who will stop at nothing to achieve their goals. At these words, the smile on the Ant Queen's face disappeared instantly. Cambry continued, I will not cooperate with you. Watching you guys fight with Aiden can't be any better. And let me remind you not to take me for a fool. The split spells in your mouth have long been researched by your Gaia mentor. You dare only tell me the benefits brought by split. But why don't you mention that split will also divide your own life and soul into two? It seems you really think I dare not kill you. At this critical moment, a pair of hands took the Ant Queen away. Originally, it was Succubus. She had promised to protect her little brothers. Looking at the great figure of Succubus, the Ant Queen suddenly fell into memories. In her mind, there was a scene from her childhood when Gaia had taught her how to leave the forbidden area. Just then, a large rat suddenly appeared at Succubus' feet. Succubus was terrified by this, so she was forced to fall to the floor with the Ant Queen. Facing the idiot who came to her door, Birdwoman had no reason to kill him. The Succubus also sensed the danger. She closed her eyes in fear. In a critical moment, the Ant Queen unexpectedly reached out to shield her. And seeing that she had hurt Alpha, Bird Woman also panicked. She decided to confront the villain head-on. She directly kicked the Ant Queen out of the cafeteria. The Ant Queen didn't expect the farce to end in such a messy way. What's even more infuriating is that Cambry waved at her. Just then, Flanda finally led a group of people over. As soon as she arrived, the prisoners of Riot Prisoner were about to retreat immediately. Some of them, led by Bird Woman, have already become a bit bloodthirsty. They are going to war with Warden Aiden today. But as they leave the prison, the atmosphere starts to become a bit awkward. Because this time, Flanda has brought quite a few prison guards. But strangely, Flanda did not pay much attention to them, because it was obvious that these people were not the masterminds behind this riot. The scene shifts to Warden Aiden's side. At this time, Kinga and her group had already returned to the prison. Aiden smiled and said, "You didn't encounter any danger on the way, right?" At this, they quickly shook their heads frantically, indicating that everything was going smoothly. "If everything goes smoothly, we'll start working tomorrow. After the handover, Aya will leave with everyone." But Kinga has already been fascinated by the wine next to her. At this moment, Aiden spoke up and said, "Wait a moment, drink these wines before you leave. After all, the future of the prison project depends on you all." In the glow of the setting sun, several people also began a happy time. After a few barrels of wine, Kinga became good buddies with Aiden. Gilala also completely forgot about the jailbreak incident, because she is now the team leader of the prisoner labor group. Foxwitch Maddie even bluntly stated that she would kill anyone who brings up the jailbreak in the future. On the other side of the prison, Bird Woman and a few others who narrowly escaped. They unanimously believed that Aiden wouldn't dare to touch them, so they decided to go wild in his office tomorrow. Just then, there was suddenly the sound of a bottle breaking. Several people instinctively turned to look. It was only then that they realized it was Aya and his group who were drunk. Kinga, very angry, said, "I just formed a brotherhood with Aiden, and you guys want to pick a fight with him already?" The most timid Gilala was also very angry. She said, "Stop the nonsense. Let's find trouble with them first." But when Bird Woman really rushed over, Gilala, who was once again fearful, hid in Aya's arms. At that moment, a figure rushed out. She rushed towards Bird Woman at an incredible speed. She did so without any warning. She punched and broke Bird Woman's left arm. Pig Woman recognized her. "It's Dragon Woman who stays neutral," she asked in puzzlement. "Are you going to be Aiden's dog too?" she said. "I'm just taking people's money to help them out of trouble. You can continue now." "The person who hired her is the wealthy and powerful succubus," she said. "Little sidekick, don't worry. No one can bully us." The Ant Queen thanked Alpha with a stern face. Meanwhile, the orc's body began to rapidly increase in size. She wanted to take advantage of Kinga's inattention. She launched a sneak attack. But the next second, her entire body suddenly flew out. On the other side, Demon Woman locked onto Maddie. She quietly climbed up the wall to the second floor. Then she rushed towards Maddie at an extremely fast speed. But just as she was about to succeed, Maddie's tail suddenly turned into a huge ball of fur. Demon Woman's entire body instantly sank into it. Then two glowing ropes pulled her out again. It's not over yet. Two big hands suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Maddie firmly pressed her devil's horns on it, crushing it hard to the ground. The scene switches to Kinga. She is facing off against the enlarged version of Pigwoman. The battle has escalated to a white heat. At this moment, the runes behind Kinga suddenly lit up. The next second, her power became even stronger. Then she forcefully broke Pigwoman's healing tooth. Pigwoman instantly let out a painful cry. On the other side, Giant George also fought with the bald old woman. The two were deadlocked. Aya shouted at her, "George, as long as you defeat her, my future breakfast will belong to you." Upon hearing this, George immediately became spirited. The muscles on her body began to swell rapidly. 1 second after that, she transformed into Muscle Girl, which scared the bald old woman. After that, George delivered a heavy blow that knocked her out. The battle is over. Gilala is very excited. She said, "We won! We are really strong!" At this moment, a large number of prison guards suddenly arrived. The real main characters have made their appearance. The atmosphere started to become tense. After a while, the prison guards arranged themselves into formation. Aiden slowly spoke. "You guys really have no fear of the gods. Do you think I have nothing better to do? You are planning to escape. I gave you a chance, but all you dare to do is cause chaos in the prison? I declare that tomorrow will be the last day of free activities. Regular prison routines will resume." Vampire's face changed drastically because according to their plan, tomorrow was the time the riot prisoners would launch a general attack. But now, the plan has been completely ruined. After finishing speaking, Aiden slowly left. Flanda then immediately spoke up. "Tomorrow, the prison's work program officially begins. The participating prisoners can still move around in the designated areas." Upon hearing this, Maddie was very happy and said, "Doesn't that mean we can hang out together outside the prison cells in the future?" At this moment, a drop of cold sweat slowly appeared on Aya's face. She knew that it was all over. Start by opening the prisoner's cell door. Aiden took 2 days to complete the reform of the prison. First, he spent a day dividing the prisoners into 3 factions. In the evening, he confirmed the leader of the loyal prisoners. That is Kinga. The next morning, he arranged for Kinga to lead a team to go out and purchase supplies. The purpose is to test their loyalty and reliability, and to test and intimidate them to a moderate extent. A fight broke out in the cafeteria at noon. Aiden noticed something unusual. In the end, he chose to let it go. On one hand, he was trying to identify the new leader of the riot prisoners. On the other hand, he was setting up a plan for the evening operation. After Kinga and the others returned to the prison in the afternoon, Aiden prepared a large amount of alcohol for them again. Make them completely fall into temptation. And in the evening when Kinga and the others returned to the prison, intentionally arranged for them to meet Birdwoman. In the end, the Birdwoman gang was beaten up. And Aiden also completed the beating of the prisoners. But in fact, Aiden's freedom for the prisoners is 3 days. The reason for ending it a day early. It is because he keenly sensed the presence of danger. So he chose to end it early. But this does not affect his plan. Aiden has completed the reform of the prison. At the same time, he also inadvertently caused the complete collapse of Ant Queen's plan. The succubus was very excited at this moment. Because she, the small sidekick, and the Ant Queen are all prisoners participating in labor tasks. The Ant Queen is also very happy. But her smile looks unusually eerie. "Aiden, you locked up the rioting prisoners, right? Then I'll put the extra ingredient dishes in the cafeteria. But it's your people who will be enjoying it. And your most trusted dog will soon belong to me." At the same time, the camera pans to Aiden and Flanda. Flanda said, "Mr. Aiden, I found something." The prison guard monitoring the cafeteria said, "The newcomer Ant Queen Mary, alias, has had close interactions with Cambry." But when he called Ant Queen over, he was quickly bamboozled by Ant Queen's few words. Unable to do anything, he found Witch Cambry again, but unfortunately, Cambry claimed to be clueless about it. Moreover, the testimonies of the two of them matched perfectly. But Aiden still keenly noticed something was off. This is because at the time, Ant Queen was admitted to Rose Prison on charges of smuggling. But how could such charges qualify her to enter Rose Prison? At this moment, Flanda also remembered. At that time, all the responsible staff had resigned. Additionally, there was a severe shortage of prison personnel at the time. Therefore, they had no choice but to lock up all the prisoners first. After listening, Aiden fell into contemplation. He thought to himself that this explanation makes perfect sense. Surely someone took advantage of the situation to engage in shady dealings at that time. And he couldn't completely trust Cambry either. After all, her disguise ability is top-notch. So he needed to come up with a way to counter her. After giving it some thought, Aiden spoke slowly. Assign the guards to monitor each new inmate one-on-one. And by the way, have Werewolf eliminate all the animals that Cambry has raised. The scene shifts to the prison playground. The hard-working Ant Queen is being closely watched by a guard. Just then, the guard suddenly spoke. She said, "The employer is running out of patience. It is obvious that she is also a spy planted by Anthony." The Ant Queen spoke up. "Do you still have the nerve to speak? Why haven't you delivered what I asked for?" "I'm just here to inform you. The employer mentioned that if there is still no progress from you in the next few days, it means your true identity documents will appear in Aiden's office. But you can rest assured. The things you want are already on the way." The scene switches to Gilala. She is urging other prisoners to work quickly. After a while, she made herself a cup of tea and started drinking it. Just then, a figure emerged. The next moment, she was so scared that she spurted out a mouthful of water. The person who came was Kim. It turns out Kim has been practicing telling fairy tales recently. Because adult Aiden said that this way, he could make friends. So she found Gilala, who is over 170 years old. Kim wanted to read to her first to practice. Everything is moving in a positive direction. However, Gilala found that she still lacked humanity at this point. And the books she reads are also very strange. Not far away, werewolf. She complained while stepping on rats. Why do I have to catch rats everywhere? And Kim, as a prisoner, can be so relaxed. The district chief who accompanied her asked her a question. If you catch a murderer, do you send the murderer's hands to jail or do you send the murder weapon in? No need to ask, of course it's the perpetrator. But Kim is a district chief who has been sentenced to life imprisonment. She is one of the notorious children created by the infamous Ant Queen. It is said that this woman often performs body modifications on children and trains them into assassins to make a profit. She still remembers the scene when Mr. Aiden brought her to the hospital back then. People were frightened by the surgery the doctor performed on her. Because Kim's internal organs were entangled like ropes, filled with various weapons, and even her blood was corrosive. No one knows how much pain this 13-year-old child has endured. And when she was just sent to prison, if no one gave the order, she couldn't even breathe on her own. Werewolf was moved for a moment. Is there still a way to cure her? If she is sent to the Royal Hospital in Dragon's Back Empire, there may be some hope. But City Silver is unwilling to bear the exorbitant medical expenses for her. Just then a voice came shouting, "District Chief, a new group of criminals has arrived. Please come and receive them quickly." But what she did not expect was, the prisoner brought in this time was actually a child modified by the Ant Queen. Their situation is even worse than Kim's. The scene shifts back to the farming area. Maddie is welcoming the prisoners to have their meal. Soon everyone gathered in the cafeteria. However, Kinga and Gilala refuse to eat. Because as a wooden elf, Gilala only needs to bask in the sun to be considered as having a meal. And Kinga prefers to drink on an empty stomach. At this moment, Aya suddenly began to recall the past. Before their mercenary group was destroyed, Kinga had a small wish. That is to adopt a group of orphan children. She wanted to teach them survival skills, so that they could make a living on their own. But later, the mercenary group suddenly collapsed. Only Kinga and Aya survived. The scene shifts to the Heresy Monsters VIP reception center in the prison. All the residents here are noble children of orcs. They are held in the prison as hostages, with their status both noble and terrifying. At this moment, a guard brought their breakfast. However, it was puzzling why she was smiling so strangely today. The scene switches back to the cafeteria. The inmates who were just eating are now all writhing in pain on the ground. This includes Aya and Maddie as well. Only Kinga, who had not eaten, managed to escape unharmed. Meanwhile, Flanda also anxiously found Aiden. She said, "Aiden, something bad has happened." The prisoners in the cafeteria have been poisoned. At this moment, the usually calm Aiden completely panicked, because the long-hidden Ant Queen has finally made a move. And the situation began with a prisoner poisoning in the cafeteria. At the first moment of the incident, Flanda organized the prison guards for emergency rescue. Unfortunately, all the prison doctors had resigned long ago. Kinga's heart was about to break as he looked at Aya lying on the sickbed. She wished so much that all of this was just a dream. She shouted Aya's name loudly, hoping to make her open her eyes and look at herself. Just then, Warden Aiden suddenly appeared. He said, "Stop shouting. She just has a mild case of food poisoning." Kinga said, "But she's unconscious now and won't wake up." Aiden no longer paid attention to her, just urging the jailer to hurry to the town to find a doctor. In the blink of an eye, he was back in the office. He was thinking about who did this. Flanda suspects that there is a mole among the prison guards. Aiden does not agree with this. Then he spoke up. "Take people to raid the cells immediately. Remember to bring the district leader of Zone 4. Her photographic memory can help identify suspects among the prisoners quickly." The scene shifts to a corner of the prison. A girl found teacher Witch Cambry to apologize for what happened before. She hopes you can help her break the prison mechanism. The strange thing is that the girl's mouth is actually on her right hand. As for the Covenant, I have come up with a better solution. I will have Kim launch a surprise attack to take out Aiden in order to break the Covenant. Seeing her sincerity, Cambry laughed. She said, "Well, tell me when you plan to take action." The camera panned to the Ant Queen not far away. She said, "Within an hour, because the poisoning incident will soon be traced back to me." After receiving the reply, Cambry was about to leave. At that moment, the girl stopped her. "Teacher, this bottle of prosperity spell is for you. You can use it to restore your power," she said. "Then give me 2 portions." Looking a bit helpless at the young girl Cambry, because her stomach had been transformed into a safe. The scene shifts to inside a prison cell, under the leadership of the warden in Block 4. The prison guards began crazily searching for the suspected prisoners. When searching Succubus, they found something strange instead. The innocent werewolf is curious about this thing. She doesn't know why it vibrates. The succubus is so anxious that she's rolling on the ground. She said, "Hurry up and give it back to me. It's my treasure." The werewolf quickly comforted her, saying, "It's okay. I'll just let Aiden take a look and then give it back to you." The succubus instantly collapsed upon hearing that this thing would be shown to Aiden. She couldn't imagine what Aiden would think after seeing it. Then she quickly hugged the werewolf's thigh. She said, "It's okay. I'll just let Master Aiden take a look and then I'll return it to you." As soon as she heard that she had to give this thing to Aiden, the succubus instantly crumbled. She couldn't imagine what Aiden would think after seeing this thing. Then, the succubus hurriedly clung to the werewolf's leg. She said, "Please, I beg you, don't do this." The werewolf said, "But we werewolves are very fair. You are too suspicious. I must show this to Lord Aiden." The scene cuts back to Afshin. She has found the necromancer Asina, because Afshin has long suspected that Aiden has become someone else. And Asina's dark magic can see through a person's soul state. But unfortunately, Aiden was soaked in the holy water of the church. If Asina uses dark magic to observe him, she is likely to suffer a backlash and become blind. But Asina also discovered Aiden's changes. Aiden started using a cane 2 months ago. Also, his right leg isn't very flexible. So if you can't beat him, you can definitely outrun him. Hearing this, Afshin felt more assured. After leaving behind a bottle of aging spell, she departed. The scene cuts back to Aiden. He looked helplessly at the items confiscated by the werewolf. Werewolf was also puzzled. She thought to herself, why does everyone act so strangely after seeing this thing? In the end, it was Flanda who told her the truth. Upon learning the reason, Werewolf wished he could find a hole to crawl into. To be clear, the reason she came here was because she liked Aiden. But whenever she thinks about how naive she is, she feels that her chances of being with Aiden are quite slim. Suddenly she smelled something. In that instant, she jolted. She was very familiar with this scent. Back when she was in the police academy, the teacher had often instructed her. In the fallen god-forbidden area, a plant called the funeral flower grows. This flower can control other people's bodies, and even their thoughts. And the racial war 100 years ago was caused by that evil god. But now she actually smelled the scent of this flower in prison. And the source of the smell was actually the vomit of a poisoned convict. This also means that they have already consumed the funeral flower, and this is something that only the Ant Queen can obtain. Just then, Gilala rushed over. Lord Aiden, something bad has happened. Kim is missing. She kept shouting that she wanted to go find her mom. I couldn't stop her at all. At this moment, Aiden panicked. He knew it was the Ant Queen that had infiltrated the prison. Then he decisively issued the order for all personnel to enter Level 1 combat readiness. Soon the prison's magic-suppressing circle was fully activated. The cell doors were promptly closed as well. At this moment, the jailers guarding the prisoners noticed something unusual. A prisoner actually used a bottle of potion to dissolve the lock on the cell door. The jailer quickly pulled out a pistol to try to stop her. But in the next second, 2 tentacles pierced through their bodies. It was the Ant Queen who made the move. At this moment, she also took off her disguise. Moreover, standing next to her was the missing Kim. Soon, all the prisoners of Riot Prisoner were released. The scene shifts to Warden Aiden's office. A guard shouts, "It's not good, Lord Aiden. All the rioting prisoners have broken out." A new juvenile delinquent used something and managed to melt the mithril lock. Upon hearing this, the governor of District 1 recalled that the 2 children received in the morning were likely intentionally arranged by Ant Queen. At this moment, Aiden spoke up. "Everyone, don't panic. It's not that easy for the prisoners to break through multiple checkpoints. Now, focus on your own tasks. Zone 2 and Zone 3 leaders, you are responsible for defending the cell block lobby. Make sure the guards only engage in long-range shooting. Avoid close combat. If you can't hold the line, retreat to the alert zone. Flanda and District 4 leader, you are responsible for operating the power core mechanism and the magic-suppressing circle to strike the prisoners. District 1 leader, you are responsible for logistics. Ensure that the power core has sufficient power. Werewolf, you are responsible for defending the prison power core and ensuring the safety of Flanda and District 4 leader. Everything is arranged. According to the regulations, when the prison alarm is sounded, City Silver's army must arrive for support within 15 minutes. But Anthony will definitely use his connections to stop it. So support is definitely not something we can count on. Just then, Aiden suddenly took out a small firework and set it off. It was a small gift from Sophia at the time. If needed, he could use the firework to summon her at any time. However, at this moment, Sophia had not yet put on her pants. After everything was arranged, Aiden picked up a notebook. This was his precautionary measure against Afshin. Not long ago, he had colluded with Flanda to use the notebook to scare Afshin at a critical moment. This was because Afshin was naturally cautious and timid. Then he pretended to stop Flanda. Before entering the power core, make sure to remember the things in the notes. As Aiden suspected, a little white mouse was hiding in the corner, quietly watching them. This made the timid Afshin nervous. She decided to go through the contents of the notebook before confronting Aiden. On the other hand, Succubus, upon learning the true identity of the Ant Queen, hid under the covers in fear. Unexpectedly, the Ant Queen did not intend to harm her, but wanted to take her along. Succubus hurriedly declined her offer. Seeing this, the Ant Queen felt it was a pity. After all, Succubus was one of the few people willing to stand by her. After sighing, she turned around and resumed the battle. Very soon, with her help, most of the rioting prisoners recovered a bit of their magic. Then, they collectively launched an attack on the cell door. But unfortunately, they were all bounced back by the door. At this moment, the Ant Queen took action again. She sprayed the aging spell onto the door. Gradually, the magic circle on the door dimmed. Meanwhile, on the other side of the door, the wardens were already prepared for battle. Every prison has a rule. Stopping a riot equals a sentence reduction. Life sentences can be converted to fixed-term sentences, and fixed-term sentences can be directly reduced by half. Standing opposite her, Kinga was full of anger. I don't care about sentence reductions. Those bastards hurt my Aya. I'm going to make them pay for it. Rose Prison welcomed the most intense riot in its history. The leader this time is the notorious Ant Queen. Under her leadership, riot prisoners inmates rushed out of their cells. And they used the aging spell to break through the constraints of the magic suppressing circle in the prison. Just as they were urgently attacking the gate, Tiger Woman said, Ant Queen, the prisoners who caused trouble earlier are still locked in the confinement room. Let's go rescue them. Ant Queen looked indifferent. She said, What is the use of rescuing a few cripples? Tiger Woman said, But we are all in this together. Should we abandon them just because they are injured? Hearing this, Ant Queen laughed, and her laughter was very eerie. She said, Then you take the magic potion to teach them. Remember to drink the potion when you encounter danger. At the same time, under the continuous fierce attack, the door was also about to give in. Soon, the sound of an explosion was heard. The door was blasted into countless pieces. This completely ignited the prisoner's madness. The scene cuts to Flanda. As soon as the prisoners rushed out, she ordered the activation of Guarding Monster. And Guarding Monster has always been the prison's secret weapon. They are Raging Lion and Ice Golem. They are responsible for close combat melee. The Warden uses a rifle for long-range output. Of course, they fire paralysis darts. At this point, the leaders of the 2nd and 3rd districts couldn't sit still. Kinga, I've heard you are good at fighting, so let's go to the cell block section 1 together. At this moment, Kinga also removed her shackles. She had been prepared for a long time. A fierce battle was about to begin. The scene cuts to Warden Aiden. After using the restroom, Sophia hurried to the prison without delay. She also brought a lot of help for Aiden. A portion of the people have already stationed outside the prison. They are there to prevent the prisoners from breaking out. Another 100 people can directly enter the prison to suppress the inmates. She said, However, Warden, these are all very expensive. I don't know if the money in your wallet is enough. Aiden did not answer her. He just bowed his head and wrote something. This is a check for 10,000 gold pounds. I want all of your people. Additionally, I have a special task to assign to you. She said she is willing to serve Lord Aiden. The camera cuts back to Kinga. She is puzzled. Why did those 2 district chiefs disappear after coming in? At this moment, she is already surrounded. Just at this moment, the Snake Witch suddenly launched a sneak attack from behind. Kinga, caught off guard, was knocked to the ground. Then countless prisoners launched an attack on her. The area she was in instantly turned into a sea of fire. Surprisingly, Kinga didn't suffer any injuries. At this moment, something was clearly wrong with her. Her entire body was emitting a colorful glow. In an instant, countless bolts of lightning erupted from her body. The prisoner standing at the front suffered. This scene terrified the other prisoners. At this moment, the Ant Queen spoke. She said, Step back. You can't defeat her. After all, Kinga has the record of single-handedly taking on 1,000 vampire knights. At this moment, Kinga suddenly moved. In the blink of an eye, she was in front of the Ant Queen. She said, It seems you're very familiar with me, Isabella. Of course. I have witnessed your heroic presence firsthand. An entire regiment of vampire breath knights was wiped out by you. But even so, you won't be a match for my daughter. Just at this moment, a sudden mutation occurred. A magic circle suddenly appeared in front of Kinga. Immediately afterwards, a large snake emerged and knocked her away. It was Witch Action taking action. The next second, she raised her hand again and sealed Kinga into the magic circle. Kinga was greatly puzzled. Could it be that even you intend to rebel and betray Aiden? Ashen did not pay attention to her. Everyone, stop attacking. She is a follower of the ancient god Baal. The more severely injured she is, the more dangerous she becomes. However, she has been immobilized by me now. Everyone, just keep moving forward. Then she suddenly tugged the rope. On the other end of the rope was the poor Gilala. Ashen intended to use her intrinsic divine power to observe Aiden. At this moment, Kinga was feeling very distressed. She wasn't afraid of being beaten or injured, but she feared being restrained. Suddenly, she saw someone. That person was a young girl following behind the Ant Queen. Her thoughts went back to many years ago. Long ago, she had promised to help a group of helpless children. After she defeated the vampire, she would adopt them. Then, she would teach them skills so they could survive on their own. But when everything was over, she learned that the group of children had already been adopted. And today, she actually saw them here again, and they had become the daughters of the Ant Queen. At this moment, she couldn't take it anymore. She said, "Ant Queen, you bastard! How dare you use them for human experiments? I will never forgive you." The scope of the riot at Rose Prison has expanded again. Even the weird creature was forced to escape from the cell. And Kinga was completely plunged into a state of madness. The matter began with Tiger Woman. Before this, they wanted to rescue the Bird Woman gang, who were confined in the restricted area, before breaking out. After obtaining permission from the Ant Queen, they then made their way to the restricted area behind the prison. This place is specifically used to detain extremely dangerous prisoners. After a hard search, they successfully found several severely injured people. But then another problem arose. How should they break through? You must know that the outside is now full of jailers. At this time, Birdwoman suggested, "How about we let Wendy out first, and have her clear the way for us?" The Wendy she referred to was a tree monster that had been corrupted by the evil god, making her an extremely dangerous presence in the prison. While they were discussing, two figures were also quietly approaching. It was the leaders of Districts 2 and 3 who had arrived. They asked, "Who allowed you to come here?" As soon as these words were spoken, it instantly caused a few people to panic. At this moment, Tiger Woman spoke up. She said, "Don't be afraid. Let me handle them." It should be noted that Tiger Woman is considered a top-tier warrior of the orcs. She also possesses her own intrinsic divine power, which is primal awareness. Simply put, she can sense danger before it arrives. Therefore, theoretically, as long as she reacts quickly enough, she would be invincible in close combat. What puzzled Tiger Woman was that the surroundings of those two people were all radiating danger warnings. So, she decisively chickened out. She said, "Guys, in my opinion, we should just surrender together." But before she could finish her sentence, the foolish pig woman directly charged forward. Then she was instantly defeated by the leader of Districts 2 and 3. This scene left several prisoners dumbfounded. At that moment, Horn Woman suddenly said, "If we feed the potion given by the Ant Queen to Wendy, maybe she will be able to defeat the two of them after being strengthened." After everyone agreed, she and Bird Woman worked together to pour all the potion into Wendy's mouth. Then everyone was completely stunned as they saw Wendy's body start to rapidly inflate. Immediately after, a massive explosion occurred here. The entire confinement area was instantly shrouded in smoke. When the smoke slowly dissipated, the mutated version of Wendy made her dazzling appearance. She had now completely turned into an irrational monster. Meanwhile, Horn Woman reverted to her original form at the critical moment. She carried several people and ran desperately. The mutated version of Wendy, on the other hand, was desperately chasing after them. The camera cuts to Kinga. After being struck by the lightning released by the weird creature, she falls into her own memories. It was her mercenary group's last mission. She was deceived by the employer, and the entire mercenary group perished under the iron hooves of the vampire knights. In the end, she fought the entire vampire army alone. although the result was that she won. But the mercenary group was left with only her and Aya. At the same time, Horn Woman arrived with Wendy. At the critical moment, Kinga finally woke up. Of course, she didn't forget to push Succubus away. And her seal was completely lifted at this moment. If you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, you too can be as invincible as Kinga. But our Succubus was miserable. She bumped into the wall. Before she could even cry out in pain, a laser shot past her. And the laser was fired by the crazed Kinga. Our adorable Succubus was almost scared to death. At this moment, a pair of feet suddenly kicked open the cell door behind her. Then she was dragged inside like a dead pig by Junior Dragon Woman. But at the critical moment, her pants got caught. Before she could retrieve them, her poor pants were swept into ashes by the laser. Just like that, the Succubus cried, and she cried pitifully. She said, "Please go save Aiden. He can't hold on much longer." Junior Dragon Woman comforted her, saying, "Don't cry. What you just saw was only an illusion." Upon hearing this, the Succubus cried even more sorrowfully, saying, "That wasn't an illusion. It was a premonition. I saw my husband Aiden being defeated by a prisoner. I watched as he lay on the ground, barely hanging on. I never expected that all 250 prisoners would take turns raping him. The most important thing is that they didn't include me." At this moment, the battle between Kinga and Wendy has also reached a fever pitch. The entire prison was swept into the aftermath of the battle. At that moment, Weird Creature's cell door was suddenly kicked open. Afterward, she followed the main group to escape from this dangerous area. Warden Aiden was undoubtedly a failure at this moment. It would be his most proud henchman, Afshin. Now, however, he had become a vassal of the Ant Queen. Even the harmless necromancer Asina also chose to betray at the critical moment. Even the Kim he would carefully mentor also became the most loyal enforcer of the Ant Queen. Facing Kim, this little girl who is only 8 years old, the prison security zone completely lacked the ability to resist. Thus, the prisoners could leave here without any obstacles. At this moment, Ant Queen spoke up. "Teacher Afshin, I've always had a question. Why does the Witch Union prohibit transforming others? If we can produce a batch of weapons like Kim, wouldn't we be able to rule Fry Continent?" Afshin expressed her helplessness. She said, "You can try it, but let me warn you first. Since you have already embarked on the path of the evil god, please do not mention the Witch Union anymore. Also, do not tell others that Gaia and I are your teachers." Hearing this, the Ant Queen merely snorted coldly. In her heart, she no longer felt the need to rely on anyone. The scene shifts to Maddie. After the fall of the quarantine zone, she retreated all the way to the prison's power core with the warden. And the werewolf had been waiting here for a long time. A jailer raised a question at this moment. According to convention, once the prison alarm sounds, the army will arrive here within 15 minutes. But obviously, things did not develop this way. At the same time, the missing person Anthony finally reappeared. At this moment, he was inviting the army, which was supposed to support the prison, to drink. In his words, this uprising was just a performance by Lord Aiden. The purpose was to showcase his unparalleled strength. As soon as these words were spoken, none of the soldiers present had any doubt. After all, everyone knew that Aiden was the strongest man on the continent. But just at that moment, Anthony was suddenly attracted by a passing carriage. Inside, it was filled with power stones, the fuel needed for the operation of the prison's power core. Anthony quickly spoke out to stop him, but was told that the prison had purchased them at 3 times the price. This sentence directly stunned Anthony. It should be known that the prison's budget had already been cut. But where did Aiden get so much money from? In a place where he couldn't see, Sophia was leisurely drinking coffee. The scene shifts to Warden Aiden. Necromancer Asina is monitoring him at all times. She wants to witness Aiden taking action firsthand. But Aiden indicates that he is not in a hurry. He wants to see how well the Warden's anti-riot drills have been practiced. But in reality, he was already panicking internally. Everything that is happening now was not part of his plan. If the power core gets breached, then this riot might actually succeed. But now, he has no other options. He can only try his best to act as if he has everything under control. Because if Asina finds out that he is not the real Aiden, she will definitely kill him without hesitation. Now he just hopes that no more unexpected incidents will occur. The scene cuts to action. Although everything is going smoothly with their actions so far, her naturally timid and cautious nature still makes her a bit worried. She fears that everything happening now is a trap set by Aiden. At this moment, her pet brings her some good news. It has discovered where Aiden is hiding. Now, Afshin's last concern is the notebook she handed over to Flanda. But she will find out about that soon. Meanwhile, outside the prison, a large number of rats suddenly appeared. As if receiving some kind of signal, they collectively rush toward Rose Prison. The scene shifts to the prison's power core, where the guards are currently lacking a commanding officer. They could only let Maddie temporarily take on the important responsibility. She commanded the guards to launch a fierce counterattack. At this moment, the Ant Queen also learned from the Snake Witch about Aiden's presence in the office. This is the opportunity she has been waiting for. Then she suddenly looked up and let out a loud cry. The scene shifts to the prison infirmary. The supposedly unconscious Aya suddenly opened her eyes. Even more bizarre is that the other prisoners also slowly stood up. However, their current state was like zombies. Moreover, 3 tentacles had grown out from their backs. It was previously mentioned that they ate the funeral flower that can control people. The location of the infirmary was very special. It had direct access to Aiden's office. Now his trusted lieutenants have all been dispatched to suppress the riot. And this group of prisoners controlled by the Ant Queen will be the last straw to break Aiden. At this moment, the werewolf once again smelled the scent of the funeral flower. In that instant, she also figured out Ant Queen's plan. But now, the battle for the power core had reached a fever pitch. On one side was Warden Aiden's life, on the other was the last barrier of Rose Prison. How should she choose? In a critical moment, she remembered what Flanda had said to her. If an unexpected situation arises in the future, please abandon everything at hand to protect Lord Aiden. Hearing this, Werewolf was very puzzled. With Lord Aiden's strength, does he still need my protection? After thinking for a long time, Flanda finally decided to tell her the truth. She said that Lord Aiden suddenly lost his memory 2 months ago. Now he is just an ordinary person. The reason for keeping it a secret all along is because there are too few trustworthy people in the prison now. No one can guarantee that there are no spies among the jailers and the district leaders. So I hope that if an unexpected situation arises, please don't forget the original intention of coming to the prison. And now, Werewolf is facing such a situation. On one side is Warden Aiden's life. On the other side is the last line of defense of the prison. At this moment, she suddenly begins to recall. Scenes of Aiden helping to clear her name constantly flashed through her mind. At that time, she was still wearing Aiden's coat. Upon thinking of this, the werewolf made up her mind. She was going to save the person she liked. At the same time, Flanda also ordered everyone to open the passage. This ensures that Werewolf can reach the medical room without any obstacles, thus blocking the prisoners controlled by Ant Queen. At the moment, they pushed the door open. Just then, the transformed werewolf also arrived. This time she will face it. It's a group of prisoners who resemble zombies. As soon as they met, she knocked down a prisoner. But before Werewolf could catch his breath, she was heavily punched by George. The camera cuts to Maddie. After the werewolf left, they began to suffer defeat after defeat. A jailer is very angry. "Is your idea of command to send us to our deaths?" Maddie responds. "It's clearly that you are too weak." She did used to be a commander before, but she was in charge of bandits. Now the jailers are about to hold out no longer. At the critical moment, a bold idea suddenly popped into Maddie's mind. She then ordered the prison guard to blow the retreat whistle. After receiving the order, all the prison guards began to retreat. Seeing this, the Ant Queen hurriedly ordered a pursuit to capitalize on the victory. In no time, a large number of offenders rushed towards the power core. And this was exactly the effect Maddie wanted. She decisively used intrinsic divine power, enchantment. Within just a few seconds, the area was covered by a pink gas. At first, the criminals didn't take it seriously at all. Some even thought it looked kind of nice. After all, who doesn't like pink? But in the next second, that pink gas suddenly became extremely foul-smelling. It was so foul-smelling that they vomited on the spot. Everything was under Maddie's control. This gas can evoke the most primal desires in people. But for women who have no such desire, the smell is just like excrement that has been fermenting for 2.5 years. A jailer understood. He asked, "You're trying to make them vomit continuously, and then have us retreat, right?" She said, "That would be a big mistake. Maddie knows that using this gas here would only disgust the enemy for a moment. But there are a lot of people here. Among hundreds of people, it is quite normal for there to be one woman who is interested in women. And once there is such a woman, she will become Maddie's most loyal puppet." Sure enough, at this moment, our old friend Snake Witch's face was flushed. This feeling of shame intoxicated her. The foul smell of excrement to others was a rich floral fragrance to Snake Witch. At this moment, her hand was suddenly grasped by someone. It was Maddie. In the eyes of the Snake Witch, she was a princess dressed in a noble gown. At this moment, Maddie began to speak. "Dear, this is our wedding ball." Upon hearing this, Snake Witch could hardly believe her ears. She so hoped that all of this wasn't just a dream. Maddie said, "Then you better hold me tight. The wedding is about to start." However, all of this is an illusion. In reality, the Snake Witch is being held by Maddie to launch an attack. And the target of the attack is surprisingly her teammate. The scene cuts to Ant Queen. She learns about Snake Witch's betrayal immediately. However, Ant Queen remains completely unperturbed, because she had long ago planted her mark within Snake Witch's body. At this moment, she suddenly heard other sounds by her ears. The place of the battle is just ahead. Number 13, the designation of the weird creature, clear the way quickly. The ones making the sound were precisely the few succubi who had escaped all the way from the prison. And by making way, she meant letting the weird creature show the Ant Queen the text she had written. It was mentioned earlier that the text written by the weird creature was cursed. Due to the sudden incident, the Ant Queen was completely unprepared. Next, everyone will see Ant Queen's memories from childhood to adulthood. Like many villains, Ant Queen also had a tragic childhood. It was her Gaia mentor who brought her out of the forbidden area. However, due to Gaia consuming a large amount of magic power during the process, it was no longer possible to bring the young Ant Queen out of the forbidden area. So she left the Ant Queen in a hidden tree hole and went back to replenish her magic power first. She planned to come back to pick her up the next day. But as soon as Gaia left, a voice started constantly tempting the Ant Queen. That voice came from Blackie not far away. She let out a creepy laugh and was constantly persuading the Ant Queen to come to her. She said, "Is the child hungry? I have big and fat worms here." This scene terrified the Ant Queen. At this moment, she wished so much that Mentor Gaia were by her side. She started to flee desperately. The will to survive unleashed astonishing power in her small body. But the path was filled with thorns. Where could a little child like her possibly escape to? When she opened her eyes again, she had already been rescued by Gaia. At this moment, she was in Afshin's mansion. At that time, Gaia had no intention of recruiting her into the Witch Union. But at this moment, the weak Ant Queen actually called out "Mama" to her. Gaia thought she was mistaken. She couldn't believe the Ant Queen had mistaken her for its mother. But only the Ant Queen knew. This was merely a means to survive. It turned out that her biological mother would tell her. If she ever had the chance to get out alive, she should call any man she meets Dad. She was very fortunate, because Gaia had just experienced the pain of losing her daughter at that time. And what's even more unbelievable is, the young Ant Queen actually bore an 80% resemblance to her deceased daughter. In the end, she became Gaia's direct disciple as she wished. The scene shifts to 1 year later. Ant Queen's first human experiment was discovered by Gaia. She was very angry. How could you, such a young child, bring yourself to do it? Ant Queen cried very sadly. She said, "I'm sorry, Mom. I just wanted to win first place in the competition to make you happy." In the end, Gaia chose to forgive her and sent someone to clean up the mess. The scene shifts to the Witch Apprentice tournament 3 months later. Gaia is presenting an award to the first-place contestant. Seated in the audience, the Ant Queen has a face full of sorrow. How she wishes that person could be herself. But due to the limitations of her talent, the Ant Queen has always been the last member of the Witch Union. After returning to her residence, she hid in the arms of a puppet. This was the Gaia she created for herself. In fact, Ant Queen also understood that she was just a substitute for Gaia's biological daughter. If she didn't show some results, Ant Queen would eventually be abandoned. So she once again set her sights on human modification. To deceive everyone, Ant Queen decided to have the modifiers undergo plastic surgery to look like herself. This is because the Witch Union stipulated that only the individual themselves could undergo modification. But it was obvious that this kind of self-deception couldn't fool others. In the end, she was personally expelled from the Witch Union by Gaia. She also coincidentally returned to the Forbidden Area again. At this moment, the Ant Queen was completely in despair, because the childhood voice appeared again. "Little bug, you've come back again, huh?" Heavy rain is the main theme of the Forbidden Area. Even the lightning here is a strange green. I believe that everyone can notice the numerous tentacles that appear in the middle. This also implies that the Ant Queen is afflicted with an unspeakable curse. Witch Action, seeing that something was wrong, immediately began chanting a spell. As she chanted, Action's magic hat slowly transformed into a human face, and a spell was emitted from its mouth. Then, the weird creature turned into an adorable doll. Seeing this, Succubus quickly spoke up. "We are not here to fight you. There are monsters chasing us. Please let us pass." However, the next second, they turned into chibi-style dolls. The cute Succubus even transformed directly into a caterpillar. "No matter what, I can't let you disrupt the current situation." As she was speaking, bursts of lightning suddenly came from behind her. This powerful force even made the usually calm Action feel startled. And the source of the power was Kinga. As soon as she saw Action, she rushed towards him. This scene immediately frightened the timid Succubus to tears. At this moment, Action began to recite the incantation again. As the incantation was recited, half of her face transformed into that of a demon, and several additional arms emerged. As Kinga was about to approach her, Action suddenly shot a magical seal towards her. In an instant, Kinga's figure continuously shrunk. Ultimately, she was fixed inside an eyeball. And a maze was gradually being constructed around her. A few people temporarily escaped from danger. But this hit also consumed a great deal of Action's mana. At this moment, the power core area behind her suddenly exploded. It was Maddie who caused the commotion by controlling the Snake Witch. At this time, a jailer said to Maddie, "The deputy warden asked me to tell you that the Snake Witch's anti-magic device has been removed. You can control her at will, but remember to keep her alive." Upon hearing this, Maddie nodded. The scene shifts to Snake Witch's fantasy world. Maddie is getting ready to share a bridal chamber with her. At this moment, Snake Witch is very shy. She says, "Baby, isn't our progress a bit too fast?" Hearing her say this, Maddie slowly rubbed her leg against her a few times. She says, "Don't be nervous, my baby. I have an ancestral massage technique here that can make you feel so good you'll roll your eyes." The scene returns to reality. Under her continuous massage, the Snake Witch completely breaks free from the restraints. She single-handedly held off all the rioting prisoners. At this moment, our old friend Vampire stepped forward. We saw her dodge all the attacks with her movements. In the blink of an eye, she was in front of the Snake Witch. But just as the vampire was about to swing the knife to kill her, several arrows suddenly appeared on her arm. It was Aiden's bounty hunter servant who made the move. Seeing the situation was not in their favor, Vampire quickly transformed back into a bat and fled. The scene shifts to outside the prison. A prison guard is desperately trying to stop the bounty hunters from setting up a defensive line at the prison gate. "You guys need to leave quickly. Be careful not to get killed by the magic circle at the gate." And she is the mole that Anthony planted. At this moment, the district chief emerged and said, "I haven't even spoken. Why are you in such a hurry? I just set up a magic circle." Hearing this, the traitor instantly panicked. She even tried to explain something. The scene shifts back to the prison. At this moment, the bounty hunter has already joined the fight. The current situation is no longer optimistic for the Ant Queen. At this moment, a skeleton suddenly appeared behind them. Ashen recognized it. This was exactly the undead summoned by Asina. He said, "Only this few people have died so far. Can you still fight or not?" Afterwards, Ashen briefly told her what had just happened. After learning about the situation, Asina also expressed her stance. "As long as you can fight Aiden to a draw, I will join you." This way, Ant Queen has gained a lot more chances of winning. At this moment, she thought of the group of prisoners she controlled. She wondered how far they had gotten. Thinking of this, the Ant Queen quickly checked on their situation. The next second, her expression suddenly changed dramatically, because that group of prisoners had been knocked down by the werewolf single-handedly. But she was seriously injured as a result. At that moment, footsteps could be heard again. The person who arrived was none other than the noble Ostina. She slowly pulled out several tentacles from behind her. It was obvious that she too was controlled by the Ant Queen. Earlier, she was playing poker with her friends. Whoever lost had to eat the breakfast sent from the prison. And in it, there was also the funeral flower placed by Ant Queen. However, it seems like she has already broken free from Ant Queen's control. Just as she walked up to Werewolf, Werewolf spoke. "Either go back now," he said, "or die here." Faced with Werewolf's rude words, Ostina laughed. She said, "I didn't expect to encounter such fun with someone like you in prison. It looks like you haven't recovered from primal awareness yet, but I have no intention of returning to the infirmary. Are you sure you want to make a move on me?" The camera cuts to Ashen. She says, "You're about to face Aiden soon. You better call those so-called daughters of yours right away." Upon hearing this, the Ant Queen said coldly, "Don't bother with them anymore. They are no longer of any use." As they were speaking, a small bat flew over. "She is our old friend, Vampire." Seeing that the situation was not right, Vampire quickly followed the Ant Queen and the others into the portal. The other prisoners also noticed something unusual. If the Ant Queen escaped, how would this ragtag group manage to break out of prison? At this time, the power core of the prison had been completely taken over by the bounty hunters. It should be noted that their magic is unrestricted. In contrast, the prisoners can only use 10% of their magic power. There are still a large number of prisoners who haven't broken out from both sides of the warning zone. As soon as Ant Queen left, they were thrown into complete chaos. At that moment, Horned Woman suddenly took a punch. She said, "Anyway, we have already been abandoned, so we might as well capture you now and make amends." Hearing this, Horned Woman became furious. She unleashed her ultimate move. The prisoner from earlier was instantly pinned to the spot. Her friend Water Monster was furious on the spot. She said, "You actually killed my best friend." At this moment, Horned Woman also realized something was wrong. With her current magical power, she couldn't kill anyone. She said, "It was the magic suppressing collar that failed at the moment she cast the spell." However, nobody believed her explanation. the two groups quickly started quarreling. The scene shifts to Flanda, who is in prison power core. She lifts the restrictions on inmate 1890. She is about to have a confrontation with 1240. Upon hearing this, the warden of District 4 immediately began to review the files of both individuals. 1240 is a water monster with a sea-level danger rating. She is also the dead inmate's friend. 1890 has a B-level danger rating. She is Horn Woman's friend. According to the analysis of District 4 leader, as long as 1890's magic suppressing collar is lowered to level 3, 1240 can be killed with one move. At the same time, the two have already started fighting. At the moment the two made their move, Flanda immediately ordered a power reduction. After receiving the order, the jailer immediately took action. As her magic power recovered, Ibaijo surprisingly managed to defeat the water monster in one move. And all of this was prearranged by Warden Aiden. By fine-tuning the collar to eliminate some unimportant troublemakers. This way, Parliament cannot be held accountable afterward. On the other hand, it can make the suspicious action apprehensive, allowing Aiden to find her flaws and deal with her. As expected, Action's expression indeed became serious. She didn't understand what Aiden was up to again. If they wanted to kill a group of criminals, why go through all this trouble? However, at this point, she had no way out. The scene shifts to Warden Aiden's office. Asina calmly said to him, "Warden, they are coming right away." Upon hearing this, Aiden's eyes instantly became sharp. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. The scene shifts to the prison lobby. Ant Queen arrives here with a large group of henchmen. She said, "Good afternoon, my dear Warden. I didn't expect you to come out and greet me in person. I'm truly flattered." He said, "Good afternoon, 3340. Oh no, perhaps it would be more appropriate to call you Isabella." As he was speaking, the Ant Queen had already completed her transformation. A great battle was inevitable. Warden Aiden's true strength will soon be revealed. At this moment, battles are taking place in every corner of Rose Prison. The scene shifts to Werewolf. As she faces Ostina, she suddenly begins to have flashbacks. When she was still training as a werewolf guard, her instructor often said that once Werewolf activates primal awareness, it is very easy for her to lose her sanity. Her mind would be occupied with the thought of killing the opponent. Therefore, before the battle, it is crucial to firmly establish her objectives. Strictly demand yourself not to do anything beyond the objective. Once the task is completed, just sit quietly and wait for consciousness to return. But one day, you will encounter people with strange tattoos. You will find that your combat skills are completely useless. So when that time comes, you must forget everything I taught you. Just release your full beastliness. At this moment, Ostina is such a person. As the eldest princess of the ancient god family, her combat power completely crushed the werewolf. With one punch, she can shatter a wall made of mithril. The werewolf can only rely on speed to continuously dodge in front of her. But she had already expended a lot of energy just now. Very soon, Ostina was in front of her. She stomped heavily. The spot where the werewolf was just now instantly turned into a ruin. At this moment, the words of the instructor came to Werewolf's mind. When you encounter such a person, forget everything. If you want to survive, unleash your beastliness. Completely different from her awkwardness, Ostina appeared very relaxed. She said, "It's really not easy. It actually allowed me to find a rare warm-up sparring partner here." The scene shifts to the Rose Prison lobby. Warden Aiden is confronting a few people from the Ant Queen faction. He slowly spoke in a calm tone. "Since you're all here, have you decided who will be the first to die?" Upon hearing this, the usually arrogant Ant Queen fell silent. The cautious and timid Ashen lowered his head directly. However, they had planned everything before the riot. First, let Kim pretend to defect. Then find an opportunity for her to poison Aiden. As for Ashen, she would seize the moment to completely take him out. Soon, the third step of their plan succeeded. Kim successfully returned to Aiden's side. She said, "Lord Aiden, I've figured it out. She and Anthony are in cahoots. From now on, let me protect you." As she spoke, she also quietly moved closer to Aiden. But just as she was about to make her move according to the plan, Aiden suddenly spoke. "Have you finished the homework I assigned you?" Hearing this, Kim was instantly struck like lightning. This also caused her to miss the best opportunity to take action. Seeing this, Queen secretly thought something was wrong. Because after hearing that sentence, Kim completely lost control. At this moment, she is trying hard to recall what the homework is in her mind. And Aiden had already known this result for a long time. He knew that in Kim's mind, there were only two choices, yes or no. But through Aiden's continuous teaching every day, he allowed her to have more ideas in her mind. All it takes is to throw out a proposition. She would continuously associate ideas, and ultimately, the vast amount of information would leave her with no energy to execute Ant Queen's orders. In the first round of competition between the two, it was Aiden who achieved victory. At this moment, Ant Queen quickly pulled Kim to her side and sent another capable lieutenant, Afshin. Aiden looked at this, his most proud hitman. Aiden let out a wicked smile. He said, "The last person who should be rebelling in this prison is you. Did you really think I forgot about the curse of the contract? If I remember correctly, the spell should be this one, right?" She said, "Lord Aiden, please stop. I have my reasons for doing this. There are too many rioters. I can't stop them all by myself. So I can only protect the weakest prisoners in the jail from being harmed." Gilala, who was suddenly mentioned by name, felt a bit stunned. She originally wanted to say something else. But how could Afshin possibly give her the chance? Even though he knew she was talking nonsense, Aiden still chose to forgive her. The truth is, he didn't know anything about the contract spell. When he first transmigrated into Old Deng's body, the document recording the contract spell happened to be covered in ink. Aiden originally wanted to take this opportunity to completely turn Afshin against them. But she seemed not to have discovered the contents of the notebook. This led to his psychological pressure not having the best effect. However, the current situation has gradually become clearer. Kim has fallen into confusion. Afshin has backed down. Necromancer Asina also chose to remain neutral. The Ant Queen herself actually doesn't have much combat ability. It's still very difficult for her to defeat Aiden on her own. The scales of victory have already begun to tip in his favor. But at this moment, an unexpected change occurred again. Our old friend Vampire suddenly lost control of his body. At that very second, countless tentacles suddenly emerged from her back. It was the Ant Queen who had completed the possession of her. You all keep calling him Master Aiden. But from my perspective, he hasn't done anything besides making a few harsh statements. People who don't know might think I grew up being scared. Today, I want to see what you're really made of." Upon hearing this, Aiden laughed. He said, "If I were to fight a prisoner of your level, people would say I'm bullying the weak." At this moment, Afshin interrupted him. She said, "Lord Aiden, you've been challenged like this. It would be unreasonable not to take action, wouldn't it?" Asina also spoke at the crucial moment. "The rioting prisoners are right before us. Lord Aiden, please pass judgment." Aiden had no way out. If he didn't make a move now, even a fool could see that there was a problem. After thinking for a moment, Aiden chose to take the initiative. Since that's the case, I might as well stretch my muscles. But I can't just bully people. How about I exhaust my own magic power first? As he spoke, he was about to use the only spell he knew, the flash spell. His words easily deceived Afshin and Asina. Ant Queen felt very strange. If you use the flash spell, won't everyone have to close their eyes? Do you intend to defeat the vampire with ultrasonic hearing while keeping your eyes closed? Ant Queen guessed correctly. Aiden wants everyone to close their eyes. Because if they were to fight directly, Afshin would definitely be able to tell at a glance that he is an imposter. So the only option is to use the flash spell to cover everyone's eyes, as much as possible. Moreover, vampires are a race specialized in night battles. Isn't Aiden one too? I ran in the dark Nether River for 8 years to gain the qualification for rebirth. Next, I will explain from Aiden's perspective why he came to this world. After I died in the original world, my soul kept falling. Eventually, I turned into a terrifying undead. At that time, I was unconscious. I only knew to run forward with the other undead, because there was a voice constantly enticing us. The voice said, "Children, follow my voice. Come to my side. I will grant the victor a second life." In the end, I ran in the river Styx for 8 years before achieving ultimate victory. I also received a second life as I had wished. That is, Warden Aiden of Rose Prison. At the same time, Vampire also sounded the horn of attack. Facing her charge, Aiden severed her right arm with a single sword strike. But his attack seemed laughable in the eyes of the Ant Queen, because Vampire's talent is limb regeneration. In the blink of an eye, she grew a new right arm. Then Ant Queen comforted Kim while controlling Vampire to continue the attack. At this moment, Aiden recalled his experience with the Styx River. At that time, Meliphilia seemed like a complete mad woman. She said, "Children, faster! Run more intensely! There is only one spot for rebirth. The losers will be swallowed by the river Styx." The scene returns to reality. Aiden pierced the vampire's chest with a sword. Then he swung the iron sword, leaving wounds all over her body. But no matter how hard he tried, the vampire's wounds would heal in the blink of an eye. The next second, her counterattack arrived. The vampire punched Aiden in the head. Seeing this, Ant Queen said proudly, "Is this Aiden you speak of really no different?" However, the next second she couldn't laugh anymore. She saw Vampire's left hand, covered in Aiden's fresh blood. It was melting at an extremely fast speed. At this moment, Asina spoke up. "Don't you know that Aiden was soaked in holy water? His blood is like molten lava to you." Upon hearing this, Vampire realized how foolish a thing he had done. But it was already too late. Aiden had smeared blood on his fist. In the next second, he appeared in front of the vampire. He threw a fierce punch at her dog's head. Not far away, Afshin also started his own plan. She casually awakened the sleeping Gilala. Then she used a transformation spell to turn her into a little frog. Afterward, Afshin and she achieved shared vision. Wooden elves are naturally able to see through a person's mental and emotional state. She wants to use this opportunity to verify whether the current Aiden is a fraud. However, unfortunately, in Jalala's eyes, Aiden's emotions did not leak out at all. At the same time, a group of rats also rushed into the prison warehouse. The reason Afshin was easily scared away by Aiden is partly because she fears the contract spell. The other reason is that she is afraid of the notes Aiden previously gave to Flanda. However, she will soon know the contents of the notes. The camera cuts to Asina. She says, "You can do something around Aiden's right leg." 2 months ago, his right leg suddenly developed issues. This led him to use a cane. Upon hearing this, the Ant Queen immediately understood. She controlled Vampire, dodging while looking for an opportunity. Soon, she found a flaw in Aiden's defense. She delivered a sidekick that forcefully struck his right leg. Aiden was instantly overwhelmed by intense pain. The severe injury to his right leg caused his body to lose balance. And Vampire took the opportunity to snatch the sword from Aiden's hand. She said, "Now you can't even stand up. I want to see how you're going to fight." As she was speaking, Aiden suddenly threw his coat at her. However, she easily tore it into pieces. For a moment, the papers inside the coat flew everywhere. This scene once again reminded Aiden of Meliphilia. She said, "Children, hold on. The finish line is right in front of you. The first vengeful spirit to touch my palm will be reborn." Just like that, Aiden ran in the dark river of the underworld for a full 8 years. In these 8 years, he never stopped moving forward, just to attain that elusive rebirth. Finally, one day he arrived in front of Meliphilia. "Children, the finish line is right in front of you. The first one to touch my palm, the undead, will be reborn." As soon as she finished speaking, a gigantic figure suddenly appeared out of nowhere. In front of him, the other undead looked like ants. He just waved his hand lightly. The undead charging at the front flew out. At this moment, Aiden stood in the middle of the team. He was thinking about how to turn the situation around. Suddenly, he forcefully punched his right leg. At this moment, Meliphilia was already announcing the results. "Congratulations on defeating everyone. You will be reborn on the corpse of Aiden Gallo. Now touch your palm to receive your reward." Upon hearing this, the monster let out a muffled laugh. But at that moment, a right leg suddenly flew past in front of him. The leg traced a graceful arc through the air. It eventually landed in the outstretched palm of Meliphilia. That's right. The owner of this leg is the unreborn Aiden. At this moment, his appearance is more like a devil than a devil. And Meliphilia, after experiencing a brief moment of distraction, also gradually came to her senses. Then she looked up and laughed heartily. She said, "This is what's fun! Congratulations, little one, you won." The scene shifts to reality. Aiden, after being struck in the right leg by the vampire, took the opportunity to throw his coat at her. Then, he quickly stepped forward and grabbed the sword from Vampire's hand. His blood flowed out instantly. But Aiden did not stop his actions. At this moment, a pair of large hands reached Vampire's head. The next second, she was pinned to the ground by Aiden. Aiden then swung his fists and repeatedly punched her in the face. This scene was just like years ago when he swung his fists and struck his own right leg. Finally, Vampire couldn't take it anymore. She used her intrinsic divine power and ran out. At this time, she had already been beaten so badly that she couldn't walk steadily. Not far away, the Ant Queen was grinding her teeth to the point of breaking. She had overestimated the vampire and underestimated Aiden. At this moment, Aiden slowly picked up his fallen cane. Then he forcefully threw it towards the vampire. It turned out that hidden under the cane was actually a sharp sword. The sharp sword precisely pierced into the vampire's chest. Then she weakly fell to her knees on the ground. He said, "Vampire's skin is very thin. Just a few hits, and it can't take it. I just don't know how thick your skin is, Ant Queen." Hearing this, Ant Queen's eyes suddenly widened. Aiden's brutal appearance just now had truly scared her. But she has no other options right now. Kim won't be able to regain his combat strength in the short term. She had no choice but to shout to Asina, "Can you hold off Aiden for a few minutes? Kim will be back on his feet soon." Upon hearing this, Asina replied disdainfully, "Sorry, I'm afraid I can't help you." She said, "She's already told you the weaknesses. Yet you're still performing like this. Take my advice and surrender quickly." Seeing this, Ant Queen turned her gaze towards Afshin again. "Teacher, please help me." But Afshin did not pay attention to her. Her face was covered in cold sweat. Because she saw the contents of the notebook. It turned out to be a list of executions from the prison, and it was filled with names below. Aiden instantly understood everything when he saw her like this. In his view, this riot was about to end. Afterward, he smiled and came up to Afshin. "Now is the best time to kill me. Do you want to give it a try?" But Afshin did not speak, because she was already afraid. And this was exactly Aiden's ultimate goal. From the beginning, he knew that this riot was not about who had more people. The jailers could withdraw defensive facilities or abandon them, but none of these would determine the outcome, because this world is not Earth. In the prison, there are many people or heresy monsters who wield incredible powers. Some S-class prisoners can easily destroy a city. Therefore, competing for the 3 gold medal fighters is the key to victory. Now Kim is already paralyzed. Asina is an out-and-out fence-sitter. So the current focus is Afshin. And Aiden has long thought of a countermeasure. To deal with clever people, You have to use the simplest method. At this moment, Afshin started to sweat profusely after seeing the notebook. Because the notebook contained a list of executions. Anyone who had committed 2 offenses in prison and participated in the riot. 2. Secret executions are permitted for brawls in the prison cafeteria. Aiden's gaze has become increasingly sharp. I believe someone as smart as you can easily understand the rules of the 3 executions, right? Number 4099 first stole a cell key. The second time, he assaulted an inmate in the cafeteria. If he participates in a riot again, he can be executed. Number 2933 first sprayed vomit at a prison guard. The second time, he assaulted an inmate in the cafeteria. If she participates in a riot again, she may be executed. And when these 2 prisoners were executed, Afshin happened to witness both with her own eyes. At this moment, the Ant Queen spoke to her. Teacher, you need to act quickly. Kim will recover in just 3 minutes. But Aiden knew she would not make a move. Afshin was already completely trapped in his snare. Meanwhile, over at the prison's power core, a large number of prisoners on the list were being executed. No one knows why they died. And a rat was quietly observing everything. To explain, the rat is actually Afshin's other eye. At this moment, Afshin finally understood everything. She had wondered at the beginning of the riot why the guards used tranquilizer darts instead of lethal weapons. It turned out that most of the inmates did not meet the conditions for execution. At the same time, more and more prisoners were being executed. Even the bodies of rats were sprayed with fresh blood. The scene shifts back to Aiden. He had actually realized from the very beginning of the riot that the current number of prison guards was absolutely insufficient to stop the rioting prisoners. Although the stun grenades might make the guards lose even faster, they could lay a good foundation for the final escape. This can make Afshin believe that I will keep my promise. If he doesn't make 3 mistakes, I won't take lethal action. At that moment, Afshin suddenly opened his eyes wide. She surprisingly saw herself on the execution list. She never thought that all the bad things she had secretly done before had been discovered by Aiden. At this moment, Aiden said to her, I am now not only without magic power, but also very injured and weak. Afshin ignored his provocation. She was thinking, I have clearly already joined the riot. Why hasn't he taken action yet and keeps trying to lure me instead? Meanwhile, Aiden was also thinking. He certainly didn't want Afshin to actually take action. Aiden was betting that she had already understood the logic behind the execution list. At that moment, Afshin finally figured it out. She thought, ever since the riot started, Aiden has been in the office and hasn't come out. He has no idea what I did during the riot. At that moment, Afshin finally figured it out. She thought, ever since the riot started, Aiden has been in the office and hasn't come out. He has no idea what I did during the riot. So he has no evidence that I was involved in the riot. But if I make a move now, that would give him the grounds for execution. He will surely kill me without hesitation. No one knows if he is pretending to be like this. Moreover, with just 1 contract spell from him, I would die instantly. At the same time, Aiden knew that the decisive moment was approaching. He said, Even now, you don't dare to make a move. You are simply disgracing your witch union. Upon hearing this, Afshin's pupils suddenly dilated. The talkative Ant Queen also fell silent at this moment. Asina, on the other hand, looked on coldly from the side. Aiden, however, stood there with an indifferent expression. He said, I've already died once. I'm not afraid to gamble my life with you. At this moment, Ant Queen couldn't help but speak up. Teacher, you are the chief mentor of the Witch Union. If you don't teach him a lesson today, the reputation of our entire Witch Union will be ruined. Hearing this, Afshin let out a gentle sigh. Then she said something that the Ant Queen could never have imagined. She said, So what if it's destroyed? Honestly, I'm very lonely too. It's not as warm as it is in the Rose prison. Lord Aiden not only cares about me, but also buys me sweets. Perhaps when I'm ready someday, I'll have a child with Aiden. Aiden didn't know what to say at that moment. Don't be fooled by Afshin's gentle and beautiful appearance now. Actually, she was already laughing internally. She thought to herself, Aiden, if you want to find an excuse to get rid of me, it's not that simple. I know you're not good with topics about men and women. Let me soften you up first. We have a long future ahead. Then she continued, As for Ant Queen, you repeatedly sabotage my relationship with Aiden. Surrender to me immediately. Otherwise, I will personally teach you a lesson. Asina also made her position clear at this moment. She said Afshin was right. You are wasting time by trying to resist. I really will start hitting people. Ant Queen looked at these two people and had no solutions either. But she knew the situation was beyond saving. She slowly lowered her head. She said, I surrender to you, Lord Aiden. At this moment, Aiden finally let out a sigh of relief. But he still pretended to be indifferent and said, Then everyone disperse. Don't forget to take her away. At this moment, the Ant Queen is undoubtedly defeated. She recalled the scene of being abandoned by her mentor Gaia. At that time, she was as lonely and helpless as she is now. But suddenly her expression changed sharply. So, relying on others is still not as good as relying on yourself. Then she took advantage of Aiden's inattention. Launched the strongest attack on him. But it was blocked by Afshin using the firewall technique. However, things didn't end there. The Ant Queen suddenly flung Kim out. Then she pointed in Aiden's direction. Kim, finish him off for me. Upon receiving the order, Kim immediately raised the butcher knife high. At this point, Kim, designated as number 3201 and nicknamed Blood Death Monster, completely unleashed his shackles. At this moment, Asina could no longer hold back. While chanting a spell, she shouted at the Ant Queen. You brought this upon yourself. You can't blame anyone else. As soon as the words were spoken, Kim instantly sensed the aura of danger. Then, her jade foot suddenly stomped on the ground. The next second, Asina's attack arrived. But it was evaded by Kim with an extremely strange posture. Asina saw that one strike had failed. Asina chanted the spell again. As she chanted slowly, a large skeleton army emerged from the ground. As soon as they appeared, they surrounded Kim impenetrably. In front of them, Kim could not even resist. And Afshin was also not idle. The Ant Queen was easily suppressed by her onto the ground. She said that asking you to surrender was not a joke. Upon hearing this, the Ant Queen suddenly laughed. Are you treating me like a stray dog on the roadside? Just discarding me when I'm no longer useful? Afshin said. Why keep a dog that has never been tamed since childhood? You don't seriously think that the little golden retriever you created can defeat Asina, do you? At this moment, Ant Queen laughed again. She said, I almost forgot your stereotype of me, teacher. From childhood to adulthood, the only thing you've ever done is deny everything about me. As long as it's something made by me, Isabella, it must be wrong. Because I am an ordinary person who gained entry into the Witch Union through opportunistic means. If I can surpass those so-called geniuses, it must be through cheating or underhanded means. Then, Teacher Afshin, guess how I managed to fight my way out step by step from the forbidden area. On the other side, Kim. Her arm was forcibly cut into 2 pieces. Then it was her thigh and ankle. Under the relentless attack of the skeleton army, Kim was chopped into 10 pieces all over his body. However, in the next second, her wounds began to heal at an extremely fast rate. In an instant, she transformed into a monster with the body of a human and the tail of a snake. From this, Kim entered the complete blood death monster state. Afshin was also secretly amazed. She had been beaten like that, and could still recover. Hearing this, the Ant Queen proudly said, This is the wonder of Kim's body. It can instantly stop and bounce back against rapid attacks. And slow cuts can quickly restore themselves. Additionally, the enemy's attacks can accelerate her to cover her entire body with venom to dissolve the enemy. Of course, I need to remind you of one thing. If I die, she will completely fall into a frenzied state. Then you will have to face an indestructible poisonous monster. At the same time, Kim has already launched a counterattack. In her full form, she is 100% capable of crushing the skeleton army. Very soon, she rushed to the front of Aiden again. In the critical moment, Asina quickly summoned a skeleton giant to protect Aiden. Then the skeleton giant immediately drew its bow and arrow, ready to shoot at her. But this did not affect Kim's offensive pace at all. At this moment, Aiden, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke. He said, "Kim, you need to think carefully. If you move forward, there will truly be no turning back." Hearing this, the Ant Queen sneered. She said, "Do you think you can still control my daughter? Good daughter, quickly kill him for me." However, Kim demonstrated with his actions that she was wrong. After Aiden finished saying that sentence, she threw her weapon on the ground and couldn't stop trembling all over. Even more terrifying is that this emotionless killing machine actually shed tears after seeing something. And this thing was the doll that had fallen out from Aiden's coat. That doll looked very ordinary. Not far away, Gilala, who had turned into a frog, also made a surprising discovery. She actually saw sadness in Kim's emotions. At this moment, she finally remembered. It seemed like she had seen that doll somewhere before. At that time, when Kim was reading the fairy tale, the illustration in that book was exactly this doll, right? Suddenly, Gilala made another discovery. She saw Aiden's bandaged, injured left hand. This gave her a very familiar feeling. Previously, when Aiden was opening Kim's cell door, his fingers were already injured. And at that time, when Aiden released Gilala from prison to buy seeds, there will be a short knife on the table, and there are many wood chips scattered around. Could it be the doll that just fell? There is also the fairy tale book that Kim will hold in her hand. They were all specially created for her by Master Aiden. The screen returns to the previously well-behaved Kim speaking to Gilala. "Master Aiden told me that once I start school, I can read the story from this book to more children. That way, I can make more friends." The screen returns to the present. Warden Aiden raises his hand to stop the skeleton giant from shooting an arrow, while looking at the continuously crying Kim with a sympathetic gaze. Not far away, the Ant Queen's mindset totally collapsed. She didn't understand what had happened. She also couldn't figure out why Kim would stop. The scene shifts to the mental world of Ant Queen. At this moment, Kim's entire body is trembling uncontrollably. The next second, Kim is lifted into the air. As she continued to rise, countless tentacles connected to Ant Queen also emerged. She said, "Kim, you actually want to break free from my control. What benefits did Aiden give you?" But Kim did not respond to her. Her eyes were fixed on the exit that was within reach. The scene shifted to Aiden. At the time, he had asked Flanda to buy books for Kim. What he got in return were all books about flattering the powerful and committing murder and robbery. Aiden had no choice but to write it himself from memory. Before starting to write, he said to Kim, "Have you heard the story of Snow White?" The scene returned to the mental world of Ant Queen. A block of wood slowly rose from the lava. Soon it turned into a small pavilion made of wood. Kim, who had returned to normal, was sitting obediently inside. Aiden said I could change the direction of the story. Thinking of this, she said to the puppet in front of her, "Don't ever eat apples given by strangers." Strangely, the puppet was actually alive. It asked in confusion, "What does that mean?" At this moment, the Ant Queen finally figured it out. Were these the stubborn memories of Kim? Then a giant tentacle reached out from the magma. At the same time, the small pavilion turned into a staircase. A puppet shouted at the girl in front of him, "Miss, what is your name?" At this moment, Kim, holding wooden shoes, stopped it. "Don't worry. I know where Cinderella's house is. Just follow me." This scene made the Ant Queen even more puzzled. She didn't understand what it meant and couldn't comprehend why Kim would be attracted to such a thing. At this moment, Kim stopped another puppet. She asked, "Are you going to Grandma's house?" This road is very dangerous with wolves. Let me take you there. It said. Sure. Then come with me to visit Grandma's house. And the puppets in Kim's memory were all carved by Aiden himself, because it was his first time making them. So not only were his fingers injured, the puppets he carved were not very good-looking either. But Aiden still held the camera. He took a picture of Kim with the puppet. The scene returns to reality. Kim is crying like a child who has done something wrong. Not far away, Gilala looks incredulous. Lord Aiden's method actually worked. A long time ago, when Aiden was reading her a story, she had said, "Your effort is useless because she cannot understand." He said, "I don't expect her to understand anything. I just want her to learn to imagine, to have her own daydreams. Only by knowing what she wants can she completely become a real person with flesh and blood, rather than merely a weapon that kills." The scene shifts back to the mental world of the Ant Queen. She now resembles an outright madwoman. She said, "Kim, I created you. Only I can protect you. In this world, only I will love you." The scene cuts back to Aiden in the real world. He says, "Do you remember what I told you? You can change the course of the story. But if you continue to listen to the Ant Queen, your fate will be a lifetime in prison, forever without a response from others. If you listen to yourself, you will have the chance to break free from the cage and feel the response of the whole world." This sentence seemed to completely illuminate Kim's parched soul. The scene returns to when she asked, "If I help Little Red Riding Hood, will she respond to me?" Sitting opposite her, Aiden said with a big smile, "Of course. Friends in the real world always greet each other. Do you want to know how Little Red Riding Hood will respond to you?" The camera shifts to Snow White from earlier. She asks, "The apple is poisoned, right?" And says, "Thank you for the warning. I will be careful." Next is Little Red Riding Hood. She says, "Thank you for saving me and my grandmother. Would you like to come to my house as a guest?" The scene returns to reality once again. Kim stopped crying. A dazzling light appeared in her eyes. Meanwhile, in the mental world that trapped her, the exit began to grow larger and brighter. The dark mental world of the Ant Queen was covered by light. Wooden castles suddenly appeared out of thin air. Eventually, it formed a world made of wood carvings. I believe there are many plots that everyone didn't understand. In fact, Kim's soul was trapped in the mental world of the Ant Queen. This is also why she followed the Ant Queen's orders without question. And Aiden discovered this issue. He used his own method to give the emotionless Kim her own thoughts. The real Kim actually has a vivid imagination just like many other children. And the Ant Queen will also lose her strongest and final trump card. The scene first comes to the Rose Prison Power Core. The jailers were urgently dispatched to the medical room because they already knew about the fight between Werewolf and Ostina. This is a big deal. You have to know that Ostina is a half-god whose power is not restricted. At this moment, two figures appeared behind them. The next second, the two suddenly launched an attack on the jailer. After being hit on the head, the jailer instantly fell down. And the attacker was none other than Pirate Annie, she said proudly. Breaking through the prison head-on is impossible. The only chance lies in the infirmary route. The other person was horse thief Catherine. She said, "After we get out of the infirmary, we'll head straight to the prison stable. Then we'll use the horse raised by Aiden to trample the magic circle at the main gate." Thinking of this, the two of them shed tears of excitement, as if freedom was just ahead waiting for them. The two of them held hands and were as happy as a 3-year-old fool. However, imagination is beautiful. Reality, however, is cruel. At this moment, the infirmary is even bloodier than the power core of a prison. Packed tightly here are all prisoners taken down by the werewolf. Both of them were baffled. She said, "Since when was the infirmary turned into a morgue?" At that moment, they were suddenly swept up by a gust of wind. And the source of the wind was Ostina. She was chanting with her head down. As she finished speaking, her arm bracelet suddenly exploded. The next second, a massive magic circle appeared behind her. Then countless stones surged toward her. The stones assembled into armor on her body. But Annie and Catherine were in trouble. Ostina's immense power seemed as if it was about to absorb them as well. A second later, Ostina completed her transformation. Her entire body was tightly encased in a layer of armor. At the same time, the werewolf was also ready. At this moment, she had only one thought in her mind: to defeat Ostina. The battle between the two officially began. Werewolf was the first to charge towards Ostina, while Ostina stood their ground, taking a stance to throw a punch. The moment the two collided, the entire prison resounded with a deafening roar. When the smoke slowly dissipated, a large hole appeared prominently in the iron wall of the prison. At the same time, in the mental world of the Ant Queen, a huge wooden castle appeared out of thin air. It felt as if this place was a true fairy tale world. Countless wooden birds were singing in the sky. Snow White danced freely to the music. Two completely different spirits are about to collide. At this moment, the tentacle that Ant Queen had wrapped around Kim was suddenly attacked. The attackers were the wooden birds. They were using their bodies to rescue Kim. At the same time, the prince also took action. He commanded the soldiers while shouting, "Soldiers, let's go save our guest!" Upon receiving the order, the soldiers climbed to the top of the wooden castle. Then they reached midair by forming a human pyramid. He shouted, "Kim, grab my hand. Do you want to go to the outside world?" Seeing this, the Ant Queen fell silent. She thought of the scene when Gaia-sensei rescued her during her childhood. Gaia said the same thing as that soldier. "Do you want to go to the outside world?" Thinking of this, the Ant Queen became completely mad. She said, "Do you really think you can resist me? Once I capture you, I will make sure you wish you were dead." As she exerted her strength, the distance between Kim and the soldier grew wider. Those few centimeters could determine the fate of the entire prison. At that moment, a pair of shoes suddenly appeared in front of Kim. It was the soldiers who built a bridge using Cinderella's glass slipper. And this bridge will also lead Kim out of the darkness at the moment they meet. Kim's whole body emitted a dazzling light. The next second, the Ant Queen controlled her tentacles to break off in response. The scene returns to the real world. Kim held her head and slowly said, "The Queen is not Snow White's mother. The stepmother is also not Cinderella's mother. And you are not my mother either." As the words fell, Ant Queen's tears instantly welled up. But what made her even more desperate was yet to come. Kim said that killing the big bad wolf would protect Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother. "So if I kill you, I can protect Master Aiden." Ant Queen was in despair. She said, "So I have been abandoned again?" "The last one who abandoned me was Gaia, the mentor I regarded as a mother. And this time, it is the mental world of Kim Ant Queen, whom I regarded as a daughter, that has completely collapsed." At this moment, everyone remained silent. Only Ant Queen herself let out cries of despair and unwillingness. Under the step-by-step strategy of Warden Aiden, the 3-month-long prison riot has finally been completely quelled, and Witch Afshin and Necromancer Asina will once again become Aiden's right-hand women. The scene first shows Werewolf and Ostina. At the moment they collide, the entire prison emitted a deafening roar. When the smoke slowly dissipated, a large hole appeared on the thick iron wall of the prison. The poor werewolf was also knocked unconscious. At this moment, Ostina's other two friends appeared. They smelled a familiar scent on Werewolf's body. That was the ancient god Samkina worshipped by the orcs. You have to know that this god perished along with the Forbidden Area evil god long ago. But why would his divine power appear on Werewolf's body again? At this moment, Ostina walked over slowly. She said, "Don't make this matter public. I will immediately write a letter to inform my father. This little werewolf must serve us orcs." Soon, the prison's district chief arrived here with a jailer. "What's going on with this wall? And who beat up Veronica, the werewolf's name, like that?" At that moment, a man's voice was heard from afar. He said, You hostages are causing such a disturbance in the prison. Do you want to start a national war? The person speaking was none other than Warden Aiden, who had just finished dealing with the Ant Queen. Facing Aiden's questioning, Ostina also provided an explanation. You misunderstood. It was Little Werewolf who went crazy first. I just used a simple method to calm her down. At that moment, Werewolf let out a painful howl. Aiden hurried to her side. He asked, How are you feeling now? Do you still have the strength to talk? Hearing this, Werewolf slowly raised his right hand. She pointed to the warden next to the district chief. It's the smell of funeral flower. She said she is the mole. Catch her quickly. As soon as the words fell, the district chief took her down to the ground in just a second. Then she directly took out a bag of something from her chest. Lord Aiden, I just tried it. It is indeed the taste of funeral flower. At the same time, the prisoners who had eaten the funeral flower also gradually regained consciousness. This included Aya. At this time, Afshin also came outside. She said, Lord Aiden, the Ant Queen has already been collared and confined. However, that vampire still has a breath left. So I came to ask what you mean. At this moment, Asina spoke coldly. Do you even need to ask? Of course, just tie her up under the sun and burn her to death. Hearing this, Aiden just smiled slightly. He said, The vampire was controlled by the Ant Queen to attack me. It was not her intention. So this does not count as her third mistake yet. Afshin, you should feed her some pig's blood. After saying that, Aiden left the place. At that moment, the iron spear on the wall caught Afshin's attention. This was the weapon that Asina had just used to attack Kim. She said, You even used your ultimate move. Are you really determined to help this mysterious Aiden? She said, Yeah. I just suddenly realized something. How many prisoners do you think Aiden at his peak could face in an ambush? 50. Or maybe 100. But now there are more than 200 prisoners in the prison who have pledged allegiance to Aiden, and this number is gradually increasing. With this force present, who would dare to lead a rebellion in the future? And what I have always wanted is a stable environment. At present, the future of Rose Prison makes me very satisfied. Whether Aiden is real or fake is no longer important to me. After listening to Asina's analysis, Afshin also fell into deep thought. Before I was imprisoned, the Witch Union had already detected anomalies in the Forbidden Area. We were both worried that the Forbidden Area would make a comeback. Therefore, we had been preparing resources for the battle kite everywhere. This is also why I was anxious to get out of prison. But if the Witch Union and Aiden form an alliance, the number of prisoners he controls alone would be enough to turn Rose Prison into a perfect fortress. So even if Aiden is truly crippled, I still won't be able to leave in the future. At this moment, Asina interrupted her. Do you mean that the evil god of the Forbidden Area is about to resurrect again? Then I'm afraid that this world will fall into chaos once more. The scene shifts to Rose Prison's power core after suppressing the riot. The bounty hunter sent from outside excitedly approached a prisoner. He asked, Alpha, how are you doing? Sophia actually accomplished the task you entrusted to her. We have all now obtained our bounty hunter certifications. Also, we have transformed from the Blood Hand Gang into the Bloody Hand Hunter Association. But after they said so much, Junior Dragon Woman just coldly said one word, run. Listen to me and run quickly. Don't look back. Standing in front of her was the arrogant bird woman. She said, Do you know what this is? In our hometown, there is a cave. Every year, countless adventurers go there in search of a hot treasure, but without exception, they all turn into these beads. And we all know that if you want to eat the living, you just tear open the beads. If you want to meet paste, you wait for the beads to grow legs before tearing them open to recognize. It's a pity. Ever since Witch Afshin subdued Ahat, these beads have never appeared again. Seeing this, I believe you will all definitely hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. The pearl in Bird Woman's hand is exactly the one in which Kinga was trapped by Afshin in the labyrinth. At this moment, Bird Woman started to laugh loudly and said, Rather than being imprisoned for another 300 years, why don't you all perish with me? As soon as she finished speaking, she crushed the bead in her hand. In this way, the irrational Kinga was released. Immediately after emerging, she killed Bird Woman and Demon Woman. To avoid further casualties, Junior Dragon Woman had no choice but to brace herself and charge forward. Meanwhile, Kinga readied herself to throw a punch. This scene was just like when she fought the vampire army alone back in the day. Although she ultimately won, her only remaining companion was Aya. She said, "Kinga, wake up! It's over." The same person uttered the same words, but in a different setting. Kinga's rationality was finally awakened once again by Aya. She looked at the bounty hunters in front of her. Kinga thought back to that night. Once we're done with this job, let's each adopt an orphan in our mercenary group. Then we'll teach them the skills to make a living and let them survive on their own. Kinga looked at the young person in front of her. She said, "Aya, do you think the orphans our mercenary group adopted have grown up?" The scene cuts to the succubus upon seeing Aiden's figure. Succubus ran over, flicking her tongue. At that moment, she suddenly saw Aiden's injured right hand. This made the succubus very anxious. She asked, "My Aiden, how did you get hurt?" "But don't worry. I'll help you heal properly." In a hurry, Flanda quickly brought people to stop her. She said, "You damn succubus, your lust is outrageous. The wound is clearly on the hand. Why are you taking off Lord Aiden's pants?" Our succubus was brought to tears. She said, "Anyway, it will be mine sooner or later. I'm just taking an early look. What's the big deal?" Fortunately, Aiden does not intend to quarrel with her. Now the riot in the prison has been completely quelled. Next, we'll need to see the progress outside the prison. I wonder how Sophia's actions are going. At that time, Aiden not only hired the bounty hunter, but he also assigned Sophia a special task, which was to find an opportunity to eliminate Anthony. However, Aiden did not insist that she complete the task. After all, there were certainly other people behind Anthony. He said, "You go find out who is behind him. If it's too difficult, forget about it. After the uprising subsides, I will deal with him personally." The scene shifts to the downtown area of City Silver. Anthony, braving the heavy rain, quickly walks towards an intersection. Following behind him is none other than the long-hidden Sophia. Legend has it that City Silver is jointly ruled by 4 nobles. They are Silver, Rose, Thorn, and Emerald, and the place Anthony is going to is the property of Sir Emerald, known as the Man's Paradise, Emerald Palace. Soon, the angry shouting of Anthony echoed here. He said, "I really can't figure out where Aiden got his money from. Not only did he spend a large sum of money to order the Power Stone, but he also hired so many bounty hunters. Go check if he's been embezzling." The person sitting opposite him chuckled. "Mr. Anthony, why do you think Lord Aiden would misuse public funds? Is it possible that the person has already become self-sufficient?" The elderly man in question was Sir Oscar, son of Emerald. Then he casually handed Anthony a sheet of paper. Yesterday, the wealthy merchants and wineries of City Silver received cooperation proposals from Rose Prison. The content of the cooperation involves agricultural products produced by the prison. It includes a wine expertly crafted by female prisoners using their delicate feet. Among them, Gold Tooth Winery immediately secured the exclusive agency rights for 50,000 gold pounds. So even if Aiden doesn't use his own savings, the 50,000 gold pounds would be enough for him to handle emergencies. Upon learning the truth, Anthony completely lost his temper. He said, "Are these wineries out of their minds? Who would be willing to pay a high price to drink the foot-washing water of female inmates?" Oscar's son responded, "I would." But he still said seriously, "You've caused enough trouble in the prison. Let your feud with Aiden end here." Upon hearing this, Anthony was so angry that he almost ground his teeth to pieces. "How can we stop after coming this far? You should immediately ban Power Stone from entering the prison. It would be best to have the military fire artillery into it." Oscar's son quickly interrupted him. He said, "Can you calm down a bit? Both Rose Prison and Aiden must not have any incidents. Helping you to this extent is already my limit." He said, "You're saying this now. I've done so much for you to reach this position. If it weren't for the fear of exposing your plan, how could I have possibly killed my own son with my own hands?" At that moment, a table lamp was thrown out. It almost hit the waiter below. It was also their first time seeing Emerald just get so angry. At this moment, Anthony had already stopped his impotent rage. He said, "You should be grateful that you're meeting me today. If it were any of the other three lords, you definitely wouldn't be leaving here alive today. Your business with Aiden ends here. Now you can get out of my sight forever." In the end, Anthony left here in despair. A doorman was very curious about what had happened. Just then, a voice came from behind him. It was Emerald, the technician from Station 28, dressed in a disheveled manner. The doorman was quite puzzled. He said, "Weren't you just standing next to me?" "We were watching the argument upstairs together. The falling lamp almost hit you." Number 28 was very angry. She said, "Didn't you notice that I was kidnapped? The person standing next to you just now was an imposter." "I was kidnapped by someone to a nearby residential house just now. She put on makeup to look like me and forcibly took off my clothes. I believe everyone has guessed that this person is Sophia." The doorman was also secretly amazed. The kidnapper's makeup skills were quite impressive. "I didn't notice it at all." Emerald 28 was furious. "Are you even a man? When the kidnapper was carrying me just now, I could clearly feel that she was flat-chested. Look at my chest. As a man, shouldn't you be able to tell the difference at a glance?" When she and the doorman just silently lit a cigarette. To be honest, in the 5 years at Emerald Palace, I had long lost my desire for the mundane. Just like this matchstick that can't be lit no matter how many times you try. At the same time with Anthony, a woman walked towards him. Anthony immediately recognized that she was from the Emerald Palace. She said that Lord Oscar's son mentioned there were too many people just now, and there might be eavesdroppers. So he specifically asked me to take you to another place for a detailed discussion. Upon hearing this, Anthony instantly became excited. He said, "I also performed very poorly just now. Please take me to apologize to the Lord in person immediately." A minute later, in a deserted alley, Anthony collapsed helplessly to the ground. He had lost his most precious possession. Meanwhile, Sophia, who had completed the mission, looked incredibly cool in her leather outfit. If you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, Sophia will come find you tonight wearing her leather outfit. After she returned to prison, the storm had passed, and the sky was clear. Before Anthony died, many people witnessed him having a big argument with Sir Oscar's son. So when his body was discovered, I'm afraid even Sir Oscar's son himself couldn't explain it. Aiden was very satisfied with her performance. He said, "You did very well. I believe we will have further cooperation in the future. Of course, the reward will definitely satisfy you." Let's first switch the camera to Gilala. Next, I will introduce her identity from her perspective. My name is Gilala. I am a kind wooden elf, but I don't belong here. I fled from another continent. I don't know when it started, but my homeland Herring continent was swept by a cult frenzy. Everything here. Originally, it would have taken me another 200 years to transform into a wooden elf, but I had to become a premature child and escape for my life. I looked at the war flames rising across the entire continent. I cried very sadly. Later, I escaped from here by clinging to a piece of driftwood. This is the story before I came to Fry Continent. As survivors, our mission is to spread the word. We need to make everyone stay vigilant. Because I know that Red-Clad Demon will not stop his march of war. He will flatten all the continents. But after arriving here, I realized that things are not so simple. The people here do not care at all about external threats. They are more enthusiastic about wealth and power. Even my few belongings were stolen by a child as tall as me. After finally finding a noble willing to take me in, it made me completely despair of this continent. Because he did not take me in out of sympathy, but rather wanted to use the wooden elf's talent to poison his own people. Although I had long planned to use my talent to make a living, could spells that can change the rules of war really be displayed in front of such people? Later, I was troubled by this question for a long time. Until one day, a noble's plantation unexpectedly caught fire. The noble, unable to endure it any longer, sent me to Rose Prison. Here, I met the somewhat famous Aiden Gallo, but at first, I didn't think much of him. Because he was neither a noble nor had military power. He was insulted by prisoners every day. What could one expect from such a person? But soon a riot overturned this impression for me. I don't know when it started, but a group of prisoners gathered around Warden Aiden. What's even more bizarre is that, despite having an overwhelming advantage, the rioting prisoners were inexplicably defeated. Even those two incredibly powerful thugs have inexplicably submitted to Aiden. She said, "Listen carefully, little potato. I hope you don't mention the kidnapping to Aiden. We won't break out again in the future, and we will wholeheartedly help him manage the prison." It was then that I realized I had been wrong in how I viewed Aiden. If the prisoners in the jail all follow him, then Aiden isn't just a potential Legion leader. More importantly, he also has a kind heart. Even Kim, who would give up on me. Aiden, however, managed to save me with his prolonged patience. I feel like he is more like a kind-hearted wooden elf than I am. So I am also very confident in investing the wooden elf spells in such a person. That's right, I want to use my own talents to help Aiden grow potatoes. After I finish casting my spell, the seed sown in the morning began to grow at an incredibly fast speed. Before that red demon comes to Fry Continent. Work hard and grow, Lord Aiden. But at that moment, a thought suddenly occurred to my little head. The wooden sculpture that awakened Kim fell from Lord Aiden's pocket. But why would he carry such a big thing on his person? Could it be that he already knew Kim was unreliable? Was the wooden carving in his clothes something he prepared in advance to turn Kim against us? If that's the case, he's too terrifying. At this moment, the signal came from the prison indicating that the lights were about to go out. Gilala told herself she must be overthinking it. Lord Aiden is so kind. He definitely wouldn't be that type of person. The scene shifts to a room somewhere in the prison guard's apartment. Dear Mr. Pingjiao, this is the loyal Blue Eagle. It has been confirmed that Aiden has lost his powers. However, I believe he still holds value in serving you. I have heard that you have arrived in City Silver, but I recommend not extending an olive branch too quickly, as Aiden might be at risk of being besieged by nobles. It is advisable to observe in secret before making any decisions. After finishing, the district chief put it in an envelope and sealed it with his exclusive stamp. And this stamp is exactly that of the royalty of the Dragon's Back Empire. Meanwhile, in the solitary confinement area of the prison, the head of District 2 and 3 was searching for the calamity that their master mentioned would destroy the world. They had almost turned the prison upside down, but still hadn't found it. Both looked at the mutated version of Wendy in despair. How much longer would they have to be prison guards here? The scene shifts to the dungeon of the prison. A voice slowly emanates from within. Congratulations, Aiden. Back then, I merely gave you some guidance, and I didn't expect that you would now be able to handle things on your own. At this moment, Warden Aiden is sitting obediently inside playing airplane chess. He trembles as he speaks. Ever since I came to this world, I've lost the feeling of hunger and thirst. I can't even sense a trace of drowsiness. Every night, I can only pass the time by staring blankly. But the injuries I suffer are real. They hurt a lot and take a long time to heal. So I'm a bit confused. Am I a human or a ghost now? Hearing this, Melophilia smiled slightly. She said, Your body is a soul vessel created using alchemy. Therefore, your wounds can be directly healed with mithril. In this prison made of mithril, any injury you sustain can be solved by simply grabbing a handful of soil. As soon as the words fell, a cloud of dust suddenly rose in the dungeon. Then, a miraculous scene unfolded. As the dust settled on Aiden, His wounds began to heal at an incredibly fast rate. At the same time, you can think like ordinary people, and even get married and have children. However, the children born will only be stillborn. I guess we can't distinguish whether you are a human or a ghost based on biological characteristics. So let's change our logic to think about it. Our dear Warden Aiden, do you see this place as the real world, or as a dream to make up for your regrets? At this moment, Aiden finally spoke. Of course, this is the real world. I handle prison affairs every day, she said. But in my eyes, you look more like a half-dead patient. Only when you touch upon the regrets of your past life that you can't let go of, you will get up and react. For example, the time you helped clear the werewolf's name. It was because of the guilt you felt from mistakenly killing innocent people. And the reason you helped Kim return to a normal life is also because you had such a grown daughter in your previous life. But you failed to fulfill your duties as a father. How pitiful. The retired soldier returned to his hometown, expecting to be welcomed by family. But instead, he received bad news. His father, who was a doctor, died while fighting with bad guys. Then, the warrior, consumed with rage, changed his profession to a jailer in a detention center. He killed the so-called murderer before the trial. However, the enemy in your eyes was not actually the real killer. He was only the real culprit's younger brother. So, you killed an ordinary person who had nothing to do with the whole incident. A person who considered themselves righteous ultimately became a prisoner. What's even more terrifying is that the guilt won't end with the sentence. After being released from prison, you can no longer recognize your wife and daughter. You can't face the mother who raised you either. You can only shrink in the corner, wasting time. When you finally make up your mind to start over, you find that your body has already been corroded and riddled with sores. It's all too late. Aiden was very puzzled. He asked, "How do you know all this? Can you see my memories?" She said, "Not just you. I could see all the undead that appeared in the Styx River back then. I can infer their entire life experiences from their facial expressions and eyes. Piece together the rules of operation of your world from everyone's experiences." At this moment, Aiden asked another question. He asked, "Since you are so powerful, who managed to capture you and bring you to prison?" Upon hearing this, Melophilia couldn't help but burst into laughter. She said, "Poor guy. You don't really think gods have physical forms, do you? Using the vocabulary I've learned from Earth, let me explain. This world is just a reptile observation box. And my body is the window specifically open for you." Aiden finally understood. He said, "So the divine being's interest is watching ants move house." Melophilia lowered her head slowly at this moment. She said, "You got half of it right. Just watching ants move house can get boring. If you want some fun, you have to throw in a fierce big insect into the box. An insect that I carefully select myself. Based on my years of observation, the behavior of the new insect after entering the box always follows a pattern. When they first enter a new environment, they all behave very conservatively. They either get bullied by the ants or keep dodging back and forth. In any case, they try their best to lower their presence. But once they become completely familiar with the environment, those ants will be in big trouble. And this period is generally around 3 months. In the blink of an eye, it has almost been this length of time since you came to this world." Aiden's face started to turn darker and darker. He said, "A weak little bug like me might disappoint you. I can't offer you much in terms of entertainment." She said, "Aiden, you're underestimating yourself. A ferocious bug isn't about how many mosquitoes it can kill in one go. It's about being able to bite back even after taking a massive hit. Killing all the ants with despair is the most efficient way. You are now only a matter of time away from being powerful. The strength that even gods desire is approaching you step by step. And that is also the key to your return to Earth. Now there is one more question. You came here with a soul full of resentment. By then, in what identity will you return to your homeland? As a human or as a ghost? Or perhaps you only care about your own regrets and everyone else to you is just an NPC. After coming out of the dungeon, Aiden arrived in the long corridor. As he passed the infirmary, he overheard the following conversation. Is it really worth getting such severe injuries? My home is right at the foot of the mountain. If the prisoners all break out, who will protect my parents? Are we supposed to rely on the army that still hasn't shown up? As he walked further, he heard the voice of another guard. Please, you must help me hide the fact that I've become lame. Otherwise, if Lord Aiden finds out, he'll definitely fire me. In this condition, how can I find another job once I'm out? Next, Aiden passed by the interrogation room of the prison. She said, You asked me why I chose to be a mole. I trained with all my might and spent all of my family's savings just to get a job at Rose Prison. I thought that following someone as important as Aiden would improve my life. But after 5 years, my life is still worse than before I came to the prison. So what meaning did my youth have? Today happens to be the day when the guards hand out their paychecks. He said, According to the regulations, each of you will receive 10 gold pounds minus personal income tax, police security fee, city trade sponsorship fee, city construction donation fee, and charity donation for the poor, resulting in a net salary of 5 gold pounds. Please check your pay carefully. At this moment, Aiden finally finished walking down the long corridor. Outside, waiting for him were the guards arriving for their shifts. They all had varying degrees of injuries, but they still did not forget to greet Warden Aiden. At this moment, Aiden remembered Meliphilia's words. Have you regarded this place as the real world, or merely as a dream to make up for your own regrets? You came here with a soul full of resentment, but in what identity will you return to Earth? At this moment, Flanda, who is the deputy warden, walked over. She said, Lord Aiden, someone from the Emerald Palace has just sent a message. Sir Oscar's son wants to meet with you, but I suggest you better not go. He said, Of course I have to go. There was a riot this time. Who knows what will happen next time? Our wardens can no longer withstand the turmoil. Upon hearing this, Flanda had no choice but to agree. She said, I also have to go ask someone for a favor. Let's see if we can get the medical expenses for the wardens properly settled. At this moment, Aiden interrupted her. He said, No need to plead anymore. This is not a long-term solution. Our best option is to be a qualified cog in the machine. We need to understand and integrate with them. We must become an inseparable part of their Lipin group. Then, at an appropriate time, we reverse the motion. Only in this way can we reconfigure the entire system. Flanda, you must remember that only those who wield a sword are fit to discuss dignity. The scene returns to Meliphilia asking Aiden's last question. You came here as a soul filled with resentment. By then, what identity will you take when you return to your homeland? As a human or something else?